Well, thank you very much, Albert, for that. So I see my colleagues are online. Bana, obviously Dwayne, Jimmy, Patrick Mugisha will be talking about intellectual property. Peter Omedo is one of our colleagues from the UNDP. Albert, my colleagues from NASE will be joining, and they're probably one of the in the attendee section. So if you could please upgrade them so that they can respond to the questions. I'm going to start sharing my screen now and go through the session. We always want to keep time because if we don't, we're setting a very bad precedent. So can you see my screen, everyone?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So it is 9 a.m. and true to our promise, we want to start and finish on time. This recording is part of the Youth Ideathon, part of the Masterclasses, which is the third wave, the third level of the program that we've been running very successfully during lockdown here in Uganda. My name is Dennis Aguma. I'm the founder and the executive director of NASE, which is the implementing partner of the UNDP's Youth Ideathon. On the panel today is my longtime friend, and I'll introduce him later, Dwayne Reed, joining us all the way from London, and Patrick Mugisha, who is also a very good friend and colleague from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, focusing mainly on intellectual property. He's the commissioner there for intellectual property. So today is the first session. It is going to be perhaps more informative, but I'll cover some of the aspects that we expect to see in the final on Friday. So without further ado, maybe some housekeeping rules. Please use the Q&A section to ask as many questions as you want to ask. Just for the benefit of other panelists like Dwayne, in the past we've had over 200 questions. So you can imagine it's a hungry bunch of young Ugandans. So expect to see any questions. For my fellow panelists, you're welcome to answer some of those questions, even as another person is speaking. Like now, for instance, if there are some questions that you can answer, then by all means, go ahead and answer them. What we have found in the past has been that sometimes the kind of questions these young people ask are the ones that give you an idea of where to focus. So please go ahead and answer the questions if you're able to. And the other thing I would love, really love from my colleagues is if you could please help and upgrade the questions so that at the end, when we are going to ask or answer the questions, we answer those that we think are most important. Not that any question is silly, but sometimes we run out of time and some very key questions are left unanswered. So we'd love if you could help and upgrade them. Maybe for that matter, Albert, please, if you could activate that function. Okay, so today's session really is about the journey so far. And maybe if I could talk very briefly about NASE. Our mission is really very simple: to leverage the power of entrepreneurship to achieve sustainable socio-economic transformation. We do this mainly by inspiring people, like we've been doing with the Youth Ideathon. Maybe for the benefit of Dwayne, the Youth Ideathon was launched amid a second lockdown in Uganda. And we have not in the past seen a lot of government support in terms of businesses. Things are beginning to move, but at the time we were launching, the Ideathon was like the hope that very many young people had in terms of getting some support of grants. So one of these guys on call will win 100 million shillings worth of grants. We're already in discussions with other partners who may actually top up some of that grant. But there's going to be more grants. Initially, we had hoped to support just 100 businesses, but because we've had over 4,800, ourselves and the UNDP are looking into how we can support almost everyone. Not everyone is going to get grants, but it is looking likely that we'll support more than 100 in terms of grants. Not that everyone will get 100 million, but there will be a cascade of grants. So we support entrepreneurs with grants, with inspiring, with skills, with mentoring. Dwayne, I know you're a very good mentor, having mentored me into business incubation and support. This is one of the things we're doing here in Uganda. And maybe I won't go through some of these core values. Some of these guys might find them a bit boring. But maybe to set some context, we do this normally in what we call LEAP conference. This was the last real LEAP conference we held. This was at Makerere. And Dwayne, you remember you are one of the first attendees of the LEAP conference. Dwayne Reed from Kingston University, they supported us to launch NASE in December 2015. We held our first LEAP conference at Imperial Hotel. And Dwayne, as you can see, we've since moved on. Usually our conferences overflows. Like this one was at Makerere University. The hall takes, I think, about 1,200. There was an overflow. Not everyone could get a seat. So we've been doing that, and what we've done also over and above the conferences is work with other universities like MUS, Makerere, Kabare University, and others to support students to have hands-on practical skills of entrepreneurship. Dwayne, this is something similar to Bright Ideas competition, where students working alongside academics come up with products and services. So instead of marking a theoretical aspect on entrepreneurship, you actually mark their products and services. And some of these guys have blown us away with the ideas that they've had. Real practical stuff. They go away, they package the product, and we believe actually this is the best way from a hands-on perspective for people to acquire lifelong skills, not just entrepreneurship skills, because by the time you bring a product to market, you really have to go to the field, you have to speak to someone, you're learning communication, you have to negotiate on your prices with the suppliers. You know, those are negotiation skills. You have to design the product. Digital skills are some of the most important. So we believe this hands-on practical approach to skilling young people before they leave school is one of those things that really should be supported, not just by government, but also by development partners, such as the United Nations Development Program, who have been very, very supportive so far with the Youth Ideathon. But of course, we're now in COVID and in lockdown, so everything is virtual, such as today's session. So one of the things we've been running, the tagline for the Youth Ideathon was, what's your idea? The UNDP has been supporting lots of young entrepreneurs in Uganda, mainly with grants of like 10,000 to 40,000 US dollars, depending on the different calls. But of course, by the time you give someone 40 grand, usually you want them to have a registered business, perhaps a bank account, maybe a team, a registered address somewhere. And of course, there's also other organizations that have been doing some similar things, including some government projects. We wanted to lower the bar slightly and focus on the idea. What's your idea? Because by the time someone registers their business, they've come from somewhere. They need to come from somewhere. Someone needs to inspire them. So the bar has been put so low as to just focus on your business idea. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've shared our judging criteria, which most of the participants will have seen has other aspects of things like a business model canvas, a value proposition canvas, and things like that. So my session today, really being a masterclass on ideation, is to give you some thoughts and insights on how you can make your idea tick. Where is the sweet spot in your idea? These are the kind of things that the judges are going to be looking for. One of which is this little triangle that I'm sharing. Your idea, you really want it to be in the sweet spot in the middle. The product or service that you're putting together, is it desirable? Does anyone actually want it? Is it feasible? Is it viable? That is really the sweet spot in the middle. Of course, you can have a product that is desirable and feasible, but it may not be viable. And I'm going to explain what each of these means. So desirability. I had to Google these ones in the morning, because sometimes, you know, with English, you can think you know something, but actually when you Google, you find that it has different kind of meanings. So desirability really is it's the quality of being desirable. To desire is to want. Does anyone want this product or services that you're putting together? And I'm actually going to share in the value proposition canvas one of the key things about your business that the judges will be looking at. Are you designing a product or service that is solving a real need out there? At the moment, we have things like COVID-19. Do we have, bear with me 1 second. Let me just, apologies for that. Yes, some technical issues. It's never a Zoom if you don't have technical issues. So I'm back. Apologies for that. So your product must be desirable. People actually want this product or service. And there are ways in which you can test that people actually want your product or service. And I'm going to talk about it somewhere in 1 or 2 slides. Feasible. Can it be done? You know, we've seen some interesting ideas. I was joking the other day. I would love to see, for instance, an idea where someone puts a zip liner from Kampala to Entebbe across the lake. Brilliant idea. It's desirable. I would love to do that. When I land at Entebbe Airport, I just get on a zip liner all the way, come looking at the lake, and land in Kampala. Is it feasible? Is it easily doable? You know, maybe it is doable if you have the resources. I've seen some interesting stuff in like the United Arab Emirates and others, where even China has some interesting projects of bridges and things like that. The UK and France, Dwayne, you would know, there's a whole tunnel where trains go underwater. But in the Ugandan landscape, is it something that you can actually pull off? Viability is, will it actually work? Is it viable? So those are the 3 key things that you need to be looking at in terms of your idea. And as we talk about some of these things, you will recall the idea that you submitted, which you're welcome to, by the way, to access. We have a whole digital platform where you can access. I know that some individuals have said that they've had challenges logging in, but we found that most of those who have had challenges, their emails have been sitting in spam and they haven't actually checked them. So please log on, or even if you have a pen and a piece of paper, these are some of the things that you need to be writing somewhere regarding your idea. You need to prove the desirability of it. You need to prove that it is feasible, that you can do it, and that it is viable. That is the sweet spot right there. One of the things that, all the tools and techniques that we will be using as part of the incubation program is the design thinking process. The design thinking process has 5 key stages. The first, which we think is the most important, is empathy. Empathy does not mean that you're sorry for someone, but it means that you put yourself in the shoes of the person for whom you're trying to design the product or service. Yesterday I was on another session where I was talking to youth that are in a similar program, and I had shared an example of someone who designed pads for women, sanitary towels for women, and because he was a guy, had never experienced, menstrual challenges. This guy actually used tomato sauce or ketchup to test his pads. In fact, on one day, he was mentioning it himself that he had to wear it with tomato ketchup just to test the product, to put himself in the shoes of the sister for whom he was designing this product and service. I'm not suggesting that you should be this extreme in every test, but why not, if that's going to give you an idea. The next phase is to define. You need to be very clear as to who you're designing your product or service for. I'll give you an example of tourism sector, which is one of the sectors here as part of the Ideathon. You could be designing a product or service, but for whom are you designing it? Tourists are very many. Are you designing it for a local audience or an international audience? Local audience meaning Uganda. I know there's quite a number of young people actually that have been doing things like mountaineering and things like that. So are you designing it for a local audience, for an international audience? If it's an international audiences are big. Is it an American, British, or Japanese or Chinese audience? Each of those have different needs, tastes, and preferences. Or is it an African audience? Some of those, the pricing might be a significant part of it. Even in the international audience, are you focusing on young people or retired people? Young people, for instance, might need just a backpacker where they just get their back racks up with all the things that they need and off they go. Older people who are retired might want something that is more leisurely. I don't see them going to climb mountains. Maybe they want a leisurely stroll across the lake, things like that. So you need to be very clear as to who you're designing your product and service. There's no point designing something for everyone. Eventually, you get burnout. It's better to focus. Once you've done that focus, then the next thing is ideate. So the Ideathon really has jumped the first stage, the second stage, and you have this idea. So I would encourage each and every one of you guys to go back to the first two phases, okay? Clearly empathize with the person for whom you're trying to design, because that is what is going to give you the different features that you need to include in your idea. Clearly define who this individual is. Sometimes you can make it like a persona. So you can say, my target audience is Jane. Jane is a 20-year-old third-year student at Makerere University from Guru. You know, be very specific, and then you ideate the product or service for this particular individual. The next phase is to prototype. We were very happy looking at some of the ideas that some of you guys already have prototypes, working prototypes, in fact. Indeed, some of the students from Makerere University, those that exhibited at the expo, already had working prototypes. I remember seeing one of the winners who had a washing machine that they use as, what is it called? As a treadmill. So as you jog, essentially it's washing your clothes. It's fantastic. So those prototypes are going to be necessary. And of course, test your prototype. So those guys have been testing their prototype and they were able to demonstrate all that. So the reason for this is it's a loop. You could empathize, you define your product, the category that you want to focus on, you come up with this brilliant idea, you have a prototype, and by the way, the prototype does not necessarily have to be like this washing machine. No, it has to be a simple, a minimum viable product. You can always develop it, you test it. If you realize that at every stage of this, you really have to be very methodical and thorough and detailed and record. If you realize, let's say at the testing phase, that it doesn't work, then you go back through this loop. You go back until you perfect it, then you take it to the market. So at this stage, I would encourage each and every one of the participants to really dig deep into this and try and look at your idea and take it through this phase, even as we go through the ideathon. You will find it very, very, very helpful. And for those that will be lucky to get into our incubation cycle, this is the stuff that we'll be talking about, because some of you guys will have brilliant ideas that have potential to scale, but maybe you don't have a prototype, you want to test your idea. This is part of the incubation support that NASE will be giving each and every one of you guys. Now, if you want to win the 100 million, these next two slides are going to be very, very important indeed. Slide number one is the value proposition canvas. Now, most of you, or I hope most of you, because we've been sending you emails and talking about some of these things, you may, if you may not have, please take note of the value proposition canvas. It's one of the key canvases or templates that we're going to be using as part of the judging process, also to help your idea come to life. Some of the stuff that I'm talking about here, I've already spoken about in the previous slide when I was talking about empathize, empathy. This slide is actually about empathy. So here on the right-hand side, you have the customer, right? So the customer wants some things, but they're not, you know, they have fears, they have needs, but the challenge might be that, and we see a lot of this, especially in the startup phase, where someone comes up with a product, oblivious to what the customer needs, what the customer wants, and always wonders why no one ever buys their product or service. So you really need to go back, and I put an example here, where who is this particular customer of yours? If you think of someone wanting to move from point A to point B, for instance, I have a meeting in town and it starts raining. My fear is that I may not make it to town, or that I might make it there when I'm drenched in water. You know, those are real fears. What do I need? I need to move from point A to point B. Okay. What do I want? I want a job because I'm going for a job interview. So your product or service should be able to alleviate these kind of challenges. And let me explain why, what I mean by that. There are very many things you could do. You could, for instance, design umbrellas, or if you find me outside waiting, you could give me an umbrella, or you could give me a raincoat, or you could come up with a border, for instance, that has everything covered, where I can sit in with a raincoat and the whole thing is covered, or a tuk-tuk, as they call them, you know? Or you could actually organize this meeting via Zoom so that I don't have to go there. So the value proposition canvas, you achieve fit if your product or service is solving the customer's wants, fears, and needs. So I would encourage each one of you guys to go back and look at the value proposition canvas. And there are very good videos actually by Oscar Valda. I think the website is called Strategizer. If you go on YouTube, you'll see value proposition canvases, and there are very good examples of value proposition canvases of some big companies that you can look into to give you some kind of inspiration. But of course, we are talking about you guys starting a business. So the value proposition canvas is only focusing on this bit here in the middle. Yes, it is the most important thing about your business, but it's not everything that you need to do, sort of, to know about your business. So again, if you're paying attention, if you miss anything, let it not be the previous slide or this slide. This slide is very important. Indeed, the judging criteria, the final product that you're going to pitch is just this simple canvas. The judges are going to look at this and make up their mind as to whether or not you actually have a brilliant idea. So again, there's lots of videos. I don't want to go through all of these on YouTube. We've sent you these canvases. I would encourage that you print this one off. You begin to complete it. I think there are PDF versions of it. You can download it in Microsoft Word. You can even complete it with your pen and a piece of paper and upload it onto the digital platform. But in a nutshell, the value proposition canvas looks at, the business model canvas rather, looks at not just the value that you're proposing or your idea, but is there a business in the idea? And if so, how are we going to make this work? So the first thing I was talking about earlier, if you remember, when I was saying, I think it was on this, when I was talking about defining who this kind of audience is. This is the section here, customer segments. And I gave you an example of the tourism sector. Who are these customers that you want to target? Are they local? Are they international? If they are local, who are they? Are they girls? Are they boys? Are they university students? Are they corporates? You know, who are they? Customer segments. You really have to be very clear to define. It doesn't have to be one customer segment. You could have a landing zone where you have like 3 or 4 segments, but it might be helpful to exhaust quite a number before you know which ones you're going to target. Secondly, how are you going to take your product to these guys? Are you going to drive this product there? Are you going to put it on a border? We have things like Jumia. They give you a very good example of how you're bringing your product to the market. But if you switch into a service like NTV, how do they get their content to you? Very many channels. The main one is, of course, TV. But they also use social media. They are on YouTube. They have YouTube live channels. They have, Facebook, Twitter. They engage. Maybe they print some magazines. I don't know. So how are you taking your product or service to the market? Most of you would be very quick to jump onto a digital way of bringing your ideas, your product or service to the customer. And that is all very well. But sometimes some services, if you do that, they miss out on the real reason why you need those services. So for instance, if it's a restaurant, yes, someone might need a pizza at home, but another person might have a date and they want to take this person to this beautiful place where everything is calm and there are birds singing. So you need to be mindful of this particular customer before you decide on what channel you're going to use to deliver your product or service to them. Customer relations are also very important. How are you going to relate to this individual? If you think of this as your shop, how are these individuals engaging with you? Do you have a call center? Some of you guys have been calling us countless times. You've been sending us WhatsApp messages. You've been sending us emails. Our digital platform has an ability to chat. So how are you relating with these individuals? Here we are, for instance, on this session, talking and chatting, and there's going to be an option of Q&A, and there's a chat facility that you can use. Actually, I don't see the chat. Yeah, there's chats as well. So very, very important. So go back to your business idea, look at the customer segments, be very clear who your customer is, be very clear how you want to bring your product or service to market. By the way, when you're doing this, do not limit yourself to the existing resources. So for instance, you might want to deliver this with a helicopter, for instance. You might want to take your tourists to Kanungu or Kavale, for that matter, in a helicopter, and that you figured out that there is a customer segment that fits into that. So do not reduce the channel to a bus or border just because you don't have the money now. It will not work for the customer segment. If the customer segment that you have here is a rich, posh guy that has money, they won't need a border. So be very clear as to all these particular sections. I have deliberately color-coded these to give you an example of where to start. You really need to start here. This is where you start. This is the front shop, so to speak. Here on the left side is the back end. So for you to bring this product to this market, what are the key activities that you're going to do? I'll give you an example of the Youth Ideathon. What are the key activities? We've had to run a media campaign to attract over 4,800 of you. You will have seen us on TV, on radio, everywhere, newspapers, social media, the lot. But even then, we've been developing a new platform in the background that is going to be managing all these grants. You'll have been calling some of our guys in our call center. Someone has to be responding to emails. Even right now as we speak, there's about 4 of my colleagues, my staff, who are on the chat messages, responding to the chats. You had me at the beginning telling my colleagues to rate the questions. I can see there's over 30 unanswered questions. Some of them are actually being answered as we go along. But these are some of the sections. We've had to identify who the speakers are going to be. We have to contact those speakers. Once they've accepted, we have to ask them for their profile pictures, everything like that. Even in the judging process, we've had to assemble over 100 judges. So we have to vet who these judges are. We have to look at their CVs and track record. We have to onboard them. There's a lot of work that goes on in the background before you actually get your idea. And meanwhile, this is not all. There's going to be the judging itself. Then we'll have to announce the winners on the 31st of August tentatively. And then, if you think you've done enough, then there's a 6 months incubation, literally hand-holding each and every one of it. So you have to be very clear. Each of those things costs money. Okay, so when you're putting together your business model canvas, be very detailed. I find that these key activities are usually the most, where a lot of work goes on. And please be very detailed. There are some things that you don't take for, you can take for granted. The key activity, for instance, for me, is to make sure that I come from home to my office where there's stable internet in order for me to be able to do this. So I have to come. If it means hiring an Uber and booking it at 6 a.m., that's a key activity. Because if I'm not here, nothing is going to happen. So be very clear on what those key activities are going to be. Key resources. What resources do you need? Resources are not necessarily just money. Of course, money is very important. And one of the reasons I'm sure most of you guys are on this call is you want to get your hands on that 100 million shillings, and that's fine. But some of the key resources might include staff, people, They might include land. If you're, for instance, in agriculture, you need land. You may have land already, but you may want to speak to your father about it. So be very clear, what kind of resources do you need to bring this product or service to the market? When I'm talking about resources, one of them is actually people. Human resources, one of those key resources that you tend to forget. None of you guys is going to make it alone. Okay, you need a team of competent people to work with you. If you're working alone at the moment, I would encourage you to look for a co-founder or someone with whom your thoughts and dreams are aligned, preferably someone who complements your skills so that together you bring this product to life. You might, for instance, and I keep using this example, but you will see people like Apple. If you go to Steve Wozniak, very many people don't know him, but he was the brains behind Apple. Everyone keeps talking about Steve Jobs, but this guy was the one doing most of the coding, while Steve Jobs was a genius, a visionary, and a great businessman. Put the two together, you have what you call Apple today. Even Microsoft, everyone keeps talking about Bill Gates, but there's another chap called Allen, and they did it together. Recently, Amazon, Jeff Bezos got divorced and gave the wife a lot of money. People don't realize that she was doing a lot of heavy lifting in the background. You go to Google, same story. So sometimes it is better to have a small piece of a big pie than to have a big piece of a very small pie. Find someone out there who complements what you're doing, share this pie, but make it big together. The other key aspect is key partners. The youth idea for Masha's NASE is doing all the running up and down. We could not have done it alone without our key partner, who in this case is the UNDP. You will have noticed as well that on the flyers that you saw, we had other partners who we had sub-engaged. TESA Advisory Services being one of them, Penda Capital being another one of them. Today we have ILA, Innovate Labs Africa, and they are going to be talking about intellectual property. So all your ideas have to be protected. And they're doing some heavy lifting in the background, trying to sort out all these ideas to ensure that if there's any intellectual property that needs to be secured, that it is done. So there are quite a number of partners that you will need. If you're a startup, some of these partners might include your mother, your father, your brothers and sisters, your friends. You know, they might be the ones to give you that capital. I don't know, but do complete this section. So this is the front end of this shop of yours. This is the back end of this shop of yours, but it's sitting on money. If it's not making money, then we're not in business. We're here to unleash the power of entrepreneurship to achieve sustainable social economic transformation. So I'm hoping that all the ideas that you have are actually going to make money. When we say make money, it doesn't mean that you are not doing something good for society. No. There are organizations that are called social enterprises, such as NASE. We exist to help young people or real entrepreneurs to succeed and become entrepreneurial. But we can't do it unless we have some revenue. So we have to get grants in. We have to get funding and support from some place. There are cost structures, you know, so you need to look at your revenue. How are you going to make the money? This space is actually very detailed. It involves your pricing strategy. It involves where you're going to get the money from, who's going to give it to you, how are they going to give it to you, and so on and so forth. And revenue streams, by the way, is a deliberate word. If I might use a digital platform, for instance, if you're developing content, do you want to develop content once and give it to someone and they pay you once and that's it? You remember those days we used to have like Microsoft Excel, you'd buy a CD with that program and that's it, you're set for life. But now you'll have noticed they make it available online and there's a revenue stream. You have to subscribe every year. So it's a stream of income. It comes in, not a one-off. It keeps coming in. So do you want to give out food once and that's it and hope that this particular individual comes back? So these streams will change depending on the product or service that you're doing. If, for instance, you're selling fridges, fridges will last for 5, 6, 7 years. So you won't have a stream of income unless you sell as many fridges, but there's a fixed number of fridges that people can actually consume. If you're selling cars, it's the same thing. One car lasts 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So what kind of revenue stream are you going to be focusing on? Are you focusing on a one-off? Are you focusing on recurrent income? So think about that. And each of these will change depending on your product or service. Cost structure. Right now, everyone is moving away from the office and working from home in a digital space. But there are some businesses that you can't do at home. For instance, dentists. You have to physically, you need that chair. You need the equipment and apparatus. So there are some costs that you may not run away from. But if you're into a digital environment, your cost structure might be different. So what is included under that cost structure? Does it include rent? Do you need rent? Do you need equipment? Do you need raw materials? Do you need money for research? What do you need? And this is very important because once you've won this 100 million, we're not going to give you the 100 million and hope that you just run off. And I used an example last time of you run off and maybe do a wedding or go off to Barbados. We don't want that. We want to make sure that the purpose for which you're using this grant is exactly somewhere in this region. So when you're budgeting, we want to make sure that if you put down a cost structure, as you said, you wanted a van to distribute your fruits, for instance, then we want to make sure that you're using that grant to buy the van that you wanted to use to distribute your fruits. So be very clear as to what the cost structure is. What you want is for your revenue to be more than the cost structure. There you're making a profit. But don't worry if you don't make profit in the first month or first year. Some businesses go on for like 10 years without making profit. I mean, Amazon being a very good example. Sometimes you want to grow the community first before you can actually start to monetize or make the profit. So one of the things I want to talk about very briefly is this customer-centric approach to ideation. Some of the key things that I think you need to be focusing on are things like information. You're going to need a lot of information, okay? Customer studies, focus groups, in-depth interviews, find out as much as you possibly can about the area that you're trying to design a product or service for. Empathy, put yourself in the shoes of the person or customer for whom you're trying to design these products and services. Make sure that your concepts resonate with the larger competitive landscape. Validate your idea, go and test it, get some feedback. Okay, once you've gotten your feedback, assess, do you need to pivot? The other thing is speed with which you should be working on your ideas. The Youth Ideathon is a proper sprint. You'll have noticed we had 2 weeks of intense thematic sessions. This week is just 1 week. There's no messing about. And once the finalists have been decided, then we want to make sure that you try out all these ideas as quickly as possible and pivot as quickly as possible. Crucially, engage with your partners, with your audience, with the potential market, ask and listen and pivot accordingly. Lastly, but by no means least, I want to talk about the mindset of entrepreneurs, and maybe this is something Dwayne Reed will talk to in a very short while ago. A while from now. You guys need to believe in your ability to succeed and influence your own outcomes. This thing of Saba government to Yambe, forget it. Even as we work with you as NASE, really it is up to you. We are just there as a platform, so to speak, to give you support, to give you guidance, send you in the right direction, assemble the right judges, the mentors, and so on and so forth, and perhaps give you some money as well for those that will have won. But ultimately, it boils down to you doing all the heavy lifting. Believe in your ability to succeed. You will have to be self-directed, action-oriented, and highly engaged. I had to highlight those ones. Whatever that means to you, please make note of it. You have to be self-directed. Incubation is a very heavy part, just dealing with one business alone. Some of the ideas that we've had, even though we say we have 4,800 ideas, some of the ideas, one individual submitted an idea, for instance, and they have a circle of 30 people. Okay, so imagine having to deal with that group of people. So to help us, please make sure that you're self-directed. If the judges or the mentors tell you what to do, by when to do it, please make sure that you've done it by that time. You really need to have an optimistic interpretation of the events that are happening around you. Some of them might appear negative, COVID being a very good example, but they are huge, so many resources, so many opportunities actually. I'll give you an example of NASE. We had to launch the Ideathon even amidst the pandemic. So our view of the pandemic was that actually now we are needed more than ever before. So we need to take the next level up. So have an optimistic interpretation. You really have to have a positive mind, especially with enterprise and entrepreneurship. Maybe linked to number one is being curious and critical thinking. Make sure that you're reliable and have a positive influence on, in your community. So that is it for now. I am mindful that it has taken me a lot of time. 30 minutes is longer than I was expecting to, but I have to rush through this. In case you've missed it, this is being recorded and will be made available on demand. So on this note then, allow me to introduce Dwayne Reed. I've known Dwayne for a very long period of time. From my days at Kingston University, he was the entrepreneurship officer there, supporting students to be entrepreneurial. Perhaps what most of you guys don't know is Kingston University in London is, if not the most entrepreneurial university, because it starts more student businesses than any other university in the UK. Dwayne, I don't know what the rankings are, but the last time I was in London, I think Kingston had held the position for like 7 years in a row through things like the Bright Ideas competition that sees over 700, sometimes more students come up with products and services, similar to the stuff that we've been doing at universities and colleges here. Indeed, that's where my inspiration came from to set up NASE, and Kingston University helped us a lot on our launch. So it's very befitting that we should invite Dwayne as we move, not just within the university, but reach out to a broader youthful audience. So Dwayne Reed is a motivational speaker and a business coach with over 15 years experience running workshops, inspiring, mentoring, and coaching people across the UK and internationally. As I mentioned, he's been in Uganda 3 times now, Dwayne. He should come back. He's an avid networker. He's an owner of a childcare business that's operating in 3 locations. I think you should be on 4 by now, if I'm not mistaken, managing lots of stuff with a turnover of over 200. I think he's trying to be modest here because he has his hands in very many pies, being the serial entrepreneur that he is. He owns a wealth of management brokerage. Some of his mentees have appeared on Dragon's Den. I can testify to this. We've done some of that work together. Some of them have gained brilliant funding and support. So without further ado, Dwayne, I'd like to invite you back to Uganda, although virtually. But eagerly waiting is a cohort of young Ugandans that are really very passionate about enterprise and entrepreneurship. And I hope that you can inspire them as they embark on the next journey. Over to you, Dwayne.
Awesome, good. Thank you very much for that introduction, Dennis. And, you talk about me being humble, but I'd like to say, big congratulations to you and the work that yourself and your colleagues are doing with NASE. As you mentioned earlier, Dennis, I was there right at the beginning, and, to see what it's grown to now, you definitely deserve massive respect. So well done. So I can see now that there's over 400 people on this call, hopefully looking for some inspiration to do with entrepreneurship and setting up your ideas. That was a great introduction from Dennis. And some of the things that I'm going to say, they'll potentially be a little bit repetitive from what Dennis said, but, I don't think there's nothing wrong with going over, things more than once. So what I found interesting, so I've been keeping my eye on the chat, guys. So Bruce, earlier on, there's a gentleman called Bruce in the chat, and he introduced himself as, "Hey guys, I'm here and I'm ready to win." So big up Bruce for that, because I thought that was quite, entrepreneurs, we need that kind of confidence. And he said it towards the end of his talk, you need confidence. You need to be, let's say, assured of yourself to be successful in entrepreneurship. So what I want you guys to do, just to start me off, just type yes into the chat if you're ready to win in entrepreneurship. Okay, so it might not be this competition, but just in entrepreneurship in general. This is what I'm saying. See, I can see some people, I can see some capital yeses. Those people are really serious. So some capital yeses, good. And that was also just to check to make sure people are listening. And it's great. We can see all the yeses coming in. So thank you very much for that. So let me just pray technology works here, and I'm gonna share my screen. And Dennis, I might need you to come on audio just to make sure that the right thing has shared, etc.
Yeah, we can see your screen, but you may want to maximize the screen, please.
Let's do this. So which one can you see, Dennis?
We can see Take Action, Your Plan, NASE UG, Youth Ideathon, How Successful Entrepreneurs Beat the Odds.
Yeah, so can you just see the slide and not the viewer? Yes. You can't see the viewer. Okay, you can just see the slide.
Correct.
Excellent. All right, great. Thanks for that, Dennis. My co-host, because I can't see what you guys can see when you're on Zoom. Right, so hopefully this works well. So my talk is going to be a little bit about the motivation behind entrepreneurship, and I guess how entrepreneurs beat the odds. Because you guys, there's about 400 of you, you're hoping that you can do what's not common, actually. Because what we find is that after about, let's say, 3 years of operating, about 80% of businesses don't exist anymore. So for instance, if we look at the audience today, there's about 400 of you. If the facts are correct, about 50 to 100, maybe maximum, of you will still be continuing in 3 years. So we're trying to work out, well, how do those 50 to 100 people still stay in the game? So my talk is going to be a little bit like that. If you've got any questions or anything like that, we can try to put them into the chat. There's 400 of you and one of me, so I might miss questions, okay? But if you would like to ask a question in the chat of me based on what I say kind of thing, then let's try, okay? So put it in. If I can answer it and I see it, I will. If not, I'll just continue, okay? So this slide to the right is me. Dennis gave me a fantastic introduction, and I don't really want this to be about me, but essentially, I'm from the UK, and also I run the entrepreneurship department at a university. Alongside that, I run my own businesses. So I've got a childcare business that I've been running for nearly 20 years now. And also I do some property sourcing. So essentially I play middleman. So people that are looking to sell their properties in the UK, okay, hopefully at a reduced cost, because there might be a reason why they need to sell it quickly. I find investors to buy property off them quite quickly, and I take a fee in the middle for doing that. So Dennis was talking a little bit earlier about revenue streams. So the more revenue streams you've got in your business or as an individual, the more likely you are to be successful. Okay, so great. So that's me. That's a little bit of background on me. I don't really want to go into me too much. Oh, so setting the scene. I've done that already, I suppose. So this is the first slide I'd like you to take notice of. So the perfect way to never start a successful business is by searching for the perfect way to start. This is the first thing that you guys have got to understand. Unfortunately, there's no rule book that says if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, you're going to be successful in business. If it was that simple, everybody would do it. Okay, so firstly, I want you guys to understand this. There's absolutely no perfect way to start a business. So that's good for one reason and not so good in another. Okay, so it's not so good because we can't follow the rule book. But it's good because what that should help you guys to understand is not everything's going to be right all the time. Starting a business is going to be full of chaos. It's a bit like juggling, okay? It's a bit like juggling balls, and you've got to be ready for that, okay? So there's no perfect way to start a business, and I want everyone to remember that. So what are entrepreneurs really about? What do they do? I think the number one thing is they're motivated to solve a problem. Usually successful people have got something in their mind that they want to really get rid of, if that makes sense, or they really want to make something better. I say that importantly because it's not necessarily about financial gain. Okay, it's not necessarily about financial gain. Usually business people or successful business owners, they want to solve a problem or make something easier. So Dennis said an interesting part. I keep on going back to Dennis so we can keep the same sort of conversation flow. So Dennis spoke about the journey from the airport to Kampala, sorry if I said that incorrectly. How could that be made better? If an entrepreneur was to come along and solve that problem, I'm sure that would help everybody out. So firstly, you've got to make sure that you're motivated to solve a problem or to make something a lot easier. Again, Dennis mentioned Amazon. In the UK, 100%, Amazon's making everybody's life so much easier. I can sit at home, and in some cases, by this evening, I could get something that I need. Imagine that, you know, if I ordered this morning before 10 a.m., in some cases, I could have that product arrive at my house the same day. Now that's a massive problem, or that's making simplicity easy, okay? So, number one, you should be motivated to solve a problem. Number two, I want you to think about this, okay? Usually, the only thing standing between you and success is what? I want you to type it into the chat. I know you can see it on the screen. I want you to type it into the chat. So the only thing standing between you and success is what? Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Kalacha. Excuses, okay? Usually speaking, Some people put fear, some people put money, some people that couldn't see the screen. It's usually excuses, okay? Because what you've got, somebody put mindset in the chat. I'll take that from Rachel. So Rachel put mindset, okay? What you've usually got is the wrong mindset. So you might see the negative in everything. You might wake up, okay, and instead of getting straight on with business, start watching TV. Oscar and a few other people, they've spoken about procrastination. I'm going to talk about procrastination later, but that's the kind of thing, okay? So excuses, usually that you're making, are usually the only thing that's standing between you and success. So again, Tagida, I'm sorry if I pronounced that right, they mentioned fear. So something's holding you back or us back, if that makes any sense. So we've got to get over that. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this, but I just want to say it because it came up from a lot of people in the chat. And can I just say thank you for everyone that's engaging by the chat, okay? I definitely won't be able to respond to everybody, but I can see lots of people are engaging. So thank you very much. So I'm just going to talk about fear. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, all right? But you know, fear is spelled F-E-A-R, okay? So fear is spelled F-E-A-R. And what a lot of people say is fear is false evidence appearing real. So I'll say that again, false evidence appearing real. So it's almost like a mind trick, if that makes any sense, okay? So we've got to try and get rid of all of these reasons that we're putting before us to start being successful. For most of us, it's because we don't really believe we've got what it takes to be successful. And I'm going to unlock that from you guys, okay? I'm going to unlock that. You all that are in this chat, you have what it takes to be successful. I love this quote, and you've probably seen it a million times, okay? Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life that most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. Okay, yep, a lot of people are typing it into the chat. False evidence appearing real. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. Okay, so that's what you got to think about it. Entrepreneurship is hard work. It takes a lot. It takes consistency. It takes getting up every time you've been knocked down. But it's worth it in the end. It's 100% not easy, but we just have to accept it, okay? And I want all of you in this chat to accept the fact that it's not easy, okay? I'm going to share these slides with Dennis to pass on to you guys, but there's a good video that you should watch where it's all about, is there a standard way of being an entrepreneur? We don't quite have enough time to watch it in this session, but please do watch it when you've got a time. The link will take you to it. So we're moving on to ideas, okay? So number 3, I want to have a little bit of talk about your idea. And this is what I want to talk around this slide here. It's not about ideas. It's about making ideas happen. So everybody in this call, I think you've got a good idea. Dennis said it. Dennis said there was 4,000 good ideas entered into this process. Now, what we need to work out is who can make those ideas happen. I personally think I've got great ideas every single day. 2 or 3 great ideas every single day. But do I have the resources to make it real? Do I have the energy to make it real? Do I have a process to make it real? Probably not. So that's why it's good to stick to one idea and be committed and actually make that idea happen. People that run successful businesses, okay, and sorry to disappoint quite a lot of you. I know this is going to disappoint quite a lot of you, okay, but people that have successful businesses, it's more about the action that they take than their idea. I'm going to say that one more time. People that have successful businesses, it's more about the action that they take rather than their idea. So I'll put this into context a little bit. You could have a great idea, but take no action and it wouldn't be successful. You could have a reasonably good idea and take great action, and the chances of being successful, are quite high. So it's really about your actions more than it is about your idea. Okay, so get around networks like NASE and people that can help you, and you have more chance of your idea being good. There's no point in me saying I've got the best idea in the world, but really I don't have the motivation to take it forward. Okay, right. Talking about taking it forward, and I'm not going to speak on this for too long because Dennis did do a good bit of information. The second part, or not the second part, the fourth part in terms of my presentation is all about creating a plan. So once you've got that idea, successful entrepreneurs or business people, they're able to create an actionable plan. So Dennis introduced to you the business model canvas, which appears on my slides too. But remember, we've got to still go back to this. The perfect way to start a business, to not start a business, is by looking for the perfect way to start. So you still got to understand there's no such thing as a perfect plan, but you do need to know where you're going. Okay, you do need to have some level of idea of where we're going. So Dennis, I'm not going to speak about this too much because Dennis spoke about it already, but one good tool to use, and I think most of you have done this already, okay, one good tool to use is the business model canvas, okay, because it breaks your business down into the 9 key segments. Okay, I want to get that number right. So the 9 key segments. So I'm not going to talk about this too much, and I'm going to just get this slide up. I'm going to get all the information on this slide up. So every single day, guys, okay, so this is just my little personal thing. Every single day, guys, in your phone or on a piece of paper, you should have your own mini action plan. And I call this the 5 things plan. You should always be thinking about, why is your business unique? Or why is this idea different from ideas that already exist? You should write that down on a piece of paper that you can always have, okay? Number 2, you should be thinking about, how will you get customers? Okay, how will you get customers? Again, this piece of paper should be with you all the time. Okay, just one short piece of paper or just one note in your phone, so you can always keep on referring back to it. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. Okay, I'm going to go to the bottom left here. You should have some sort of idea on some financial targets, and you should link that to a month. Okay, so in the next 2 months, this is what I want to achieve financially. Okay, so in the next few months, this is what I want to achieve financially. And to be honest with you, at the beginning, so Dennis said, in your first few months, in your first few years, you might not even be making any revenue. So what you could say is, actually, I don't want to spend much money. Does that make sense? Like, not I want to make 10,000, let's just say 100 million shillings, okay? I just don't want to spend 100 million shillings or whatever it might be. So your financial target might just be about not spending money. And the last thing on this paper should be, what do you need? So what do you need to do now to get closer to your success? Okay. So I would write these 5 things down: why you're unique, how you're going to get customers, some financial targets and some things, and what do you need to do now? And lastly, the most important thing on this would be some actions. So you should be walking around every single day, okay, with a little thing that reminds you of the actions you should be doing. So just in case you've got a spare moment, if you look at this note in your phone, or if you look on this piece of paper, it straight away, okay, it straight away reminds you what actions you should be doing now. Okay, so have a little bit of a plan that you can always have around with you. So guys, I'm sorry to sound a bit repetitive, but it's so true. We've got to remember this, okay? You may have seen this image before, but most of us, we're quite creative, you know, we're very ambitious, let's say. So we think that it's going to be the top picture. So if you see on my slide, okay, we think it's going to be the top picture. We think we're just going to cycle along and we're going to slowly get to our goal. Dennis, I can see someone's, is it my connection or the person's connection, Dennis? I might hardwire myself just in case.
We can see you, but I can hear you clearly. But I do acknowledge that sometimes there's red something.
Okay, I'm just going to hardwire myself as well, just in case it makes any difference. So sorry about that. If you guys were losing some of me, I've just hardwired myself, so that should be okay. So thank you. Lots of people are saying they can hear me clearly. Sorry, I was just making sure it wasn't my end. Thank you very much for everyone that said that. Right. So the plan. Okay, we think we're going to cycle along. We think we've listened to Dennis. Okay, Dennis has given us some great advice. We've listened to Dwayne. Dwayne has given us some great advice. So we're just going to cycle along and be successful. But what you can see, the bottom picture is much more closer to the reality. Okay, we're going to fall in ditches that we're not going to see. We're going to get wet, and we're going to have to ditch our cycle and get on a boat to get through the small river. I hope that kind of makes sense. But to be honest with you, if you understand and you accept that this is going to happen, then you're halfway there. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to do, okay, is just type this into the chat for me. Okay, I am going to fail. Type this into the chat. Okay, I am going to fail. Just type it into the chat, guys. Type I am going to fail into the chat, because we have to accept that in order to get to success, there is definitely going to be some level of failure. Our plan's not going to go to plan, but we're going to stay on the cycle. So once you accept that, then it's absolutely okay. You're going to have some level of failure as part of your success. And the quicker that you get past that, so as an entrepreneur, okay, or as someone that wants to be successful, the faster you fail, the better. If you think that Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Kardashians, whoever you watch, whoever you like, whoever you think is successful, 50 Cent, Floyd Mayweather, whoever you think is successful, if you think they got to success without failure, then entrepreneurship or success isn't for you. Okay, somebody typed into the chat. Okay, it's not an option, but it's part of the process. And you have to get used to that, and that's fine. Anyway, let me move on from this, okay? So we said it already, okay? Take action. You've got to take action, and I'm just going to sit here for a second. Guys, I would say that I'm relatively successful, okay? I'm relatively successful, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not even successful yet, if that makes any sense. The people that I talk to that I think are on the first, let's say, halfway up the ladder of success. So I'm talking about multimillionaires in the UK. So the multimillionaires that I talk to in the UK, what sets them apart from people that are probably average or just above average, in a way, like myself, is they take action. They make decisions, and they make decisions fast. Remember, guys, we don't know if it's going to be the wrong decision after we take the action. Does that make sense? You don't know if it's going to be the wrong decision until you take the action. So why are we procrastinating? If we accept that we've got, there's going to be some level of failure, then it's okay to get it wrong. Okay, does that make sense? If we accept that there's going to be some level of failure, then it's okay for you to get some things wrong. The most important thing is that you take action, okay? So a few people said it earlier on when I said, what's standing between you and success? A few people did actually say procrastination, and that's true. Procrastination is the killer of most ideas. And we procrastinate about silly things. Most of us, okay? Not all of us, most of us, okay? We procrastinate about silly things. And I'm going to give some examples. I've had entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs take weeks or months coming up with a business name. Now, your business name isn't that important. It's what your business does that ends up being important. I hope that makes sense. Like, your business name, so whatever you call your business, isn't that important. Obviously, don't call it anything disrespectful or anything that could be misconstrued in another language as being rude. But in the grand scheme of things, your business name really doesn't matter. So if you're procrastinating about that, then you're wasting time where you could be using it on more important things. Think of I just want you guys to do this in your mind. You don't have to type it into the chat, or you can type it in the chat if you want. But for you personally, okay, I want you to think about some of your favorite businesses. I want you to think about some of your favorite businesses. Okay, and actually, I want you to type it into the chat. So type your favorite businesses into the chat, and it could be anything. Like, again, in any sector, in anything, any country. Type something. NASE. Thank you, Dennis. That was a good one from Dennis. So, what's the name of your? So some people are putting industry. Yeah. So someone put Dunwell. Okay. Apple. Okay. Like, what's the name of the business? So I was asking more the business name. Sorry, Coca-Cola, Apple again. Okay. I'm just pulling out. So YouTube. Man, okay, I'm just Jamia. I'm just calling out some of the names. KFC, like Evoke Nutrition Center, name play, and maybe you're putting your own business names in, which is quite interesting. But my point here is the names don't really mean anything. Like before Tesla, before we were told something was called Tesla, nobody would have said that's a good business name. So my point here is we need to stop procrastinating on the things that are not that important. Amazon, okay, and quite a lot of people have put Amazon in the chat. Before Amazon, nobody would have said, oh my God, Amazon's a great business name. Make your business a great business, and then your business name will be a great business name. I hope that makes sense, okay? And I'll say that again. Make your business a great business, and then your business name will become a great business name. Okay, so worry about the business first. So let me just move on from that. Okay, so I'm talking a bit on procrastination. I want you to remember this as well. Hopefully you can see my slides, and sorry for the images if you hate spiders, okay, because I hate spiders too. But there's no such thing as normal in business, and you've got to accept that. There's absolutely no such thing as normal. So I'll give you somebody that I look up to in terms of their business ethics, and they took themselves from one world and they were able to put themselves in another. So I'm not sure if everybody's heard of the rapper 50 Cent. Okay, so just type yes in the chat if you know who I'm talking about when I say 50 Cent, the rapper. Type yes into the chat just so I know who knows 50 Cent. Yeah, so we're getting a few yeses into the chat. So 50 Cent is one of my favorite, let's say, business personalities as well as rappers, okay? And I just love the way that he thinks about business when I listen to his interviews. Now, what I would like to say here is I couldn't follow the model of 50 Cent and it would work. If I started rapping, and even rapping the same as 50 Cent, not the same, but you know what I mean, the same lyrics, okay, I definitely wouldn't sell as much records. Even if I was to act, I probably wouldn't act the same as 50 Cent, okay? So there's no point in trying to copy people. You are your own individual and you're awesome enough. You don't need to be the copy of anybody else. Hope that makes sense. You're awesome, okay? So you should spend 100% of the time being you. And you will be able to become the famous you. And that's absolutely fine. So that's why I use this image up here, okay? What's normal to the spider is chaos to the fly. So let's stop trying to all be normal, and let's stop trying to all be the same, or let's stop trying to all copy that person that was successful because we think that's the road to go down, okay? You do what works for you. If the fly tries to be the spider, the fly ends up dead, okay? The fly needs to focus on what he or she is good at, and that's what the fly does. The spider focuses on what he or she is good at. They don't try to fly. Why are they going to try to fly for? Okay. Anyway, back to you guys. Okay. Spend 100% of the time being 100% you, and it will work out fine. All right. I've got about 5 more minutes. I just want to go through the last few things. So get help. Okay. And or get a mentor. So I saw some people typing into the chat, which suggests, okay, that there's some mentoring help or something like that available through this program, which is great. But remember, your mentors don't have to be, let's say, an official capacity. Okay, they don't have to be an official capacity. And what I mean by that is, people, I just said it before, people are good at different things. So you might see someone that's, I'm just going to use a silly example, but you might see someone that's quite consistent with posting on social media. And you might say to them, hey, can we go for a coffee or a drink? I just want to talk to you about, how do you keep consistently posting on social media? And they might give you a little bit of a plan. So all of a sudden, that person becomes your social media mentor. You might know someone that started a business, but it's not in your field, but you think they've done quite well. So again, you might talk to them. Let's have a coffee. Let's have a little bit of water. I admire what you do. I wonder if I can help you out, but it would be great to hear what's worked for you. Always try and offer something if you can, okay? Make it a win-win. Don't be trying to take. If you can offer something back, then that's great, okay? Even if it's just a little bit of your time. So for instance, how you might do something is, if you know the website of someone that's being, is relatively successful, or you want to talk to somebody, you want to talk to them, you might do a very quick review of their website or a very quick review of their social media. Hey, I went onto your website and I just thought that you might change this. Here's a bit of advice. Actually, I think you're great as well. So I would love for you to maybe give me a little bit of feedback on my business. Because no one says no to a little bit of help on their own ideas, if that makes sense. Because you might spot things that they haven't spotted about their website, about their social media, or what have you. But going back to the point, always seek out help. No man is an island, okay? No man is an island. I can see some people putting in the chat, be my mentor. I've left my details, okay? So my social media details, Instagram, Twitter. Please do follow me, my website, dwaynereed.com. Please do follow me if anything. But again, this is not about me, okay? So get a mentor, get help on any area of your business. No man is an island, or no woman is an island, okay? Find the support that you need. Like, collaborate, can you collaborate with someone to get the support that you need on your business? So you offer something and they give you something back in return, or vice versa. Like, there could be some level of collaboration. So this is another thing, okay, that lets a lot of people down. And it seems obvious, but I don't think it is. So I just want to quickly check what my next slide is. Yeah. So you've got to tell everybody about your business idea. Tell everyone you know every way you can. Because if you don't tell people about your business, how are they going to know? How are they going to share it? How are they going to give you feedback? I'm just going to use a random number, okay? Of the 450 people in this call, I reckon that only 50 people really shared their business idea with other people to get a little bit of feedback. It's like we keep it a secret. Like, I want to go off and do something that's quite difficult, so I'm not going to tell anybody until it's successful. That makes absolutely no sense, because it won't be successful because you've not told anyone. So you've not been able to get feedback from everybody. Does that make sense? Tell everybody you know as soon as you can. One thing that you might be worried about is intellectual property and IP and stuff like that. I would suggest, for a lot of us, we don't have to worry about that, okay? Intellectual property is quite deep. So it needs to be something that's like completely unique. If we're talking about getting a trademark, sorry, not a trademark, sorry. If we're talking about, oh my God, I've lost the word now. Trademark is if you, oh my God, why have I lost the word? I've gone a blank. I'll come back to it, okay? When we're talking about intellectual property. Trademark and things like that, yes, you should patent. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I was talking about a patent. Yes, thank you very much. If you're trying to get a patent, that's very, very, very like technical and stuff like that. And if I've seen 1,000 ideas, okay, maybe 5 of them are patentable, all right? Copyright and trademark, that's something slightly different, okay? Because you kind of do it yourself, okay? Copyright, anyway, it's a copyright you kind of own anyway. So if I write something, I automatically own the copyright for that piece of material, okay? So copyright is your own by default. trademark, sorry, this is not an IP lecture. You're going to hear more about IP after me, so I don't even need to go into it too much. But trademark, for instance, my logo, I could trademark my logo. So someone couldn't use, okay, something that looks like that, especially in like business coaching. But you're going to hear about IP after, so I didn't want to go into that too much. But my important thing is tell as much people as possible. Share your idea. If you don't share it from the start, you're letting yourself down, okay? At the beginning, you're mainly sharing it for feedback, right? I'm 1 minute over, I'm just gonna rush through. So Dennis spoke about building networks. Very, very, very important. Go out, network, network, network. I completely agree with this saying. Your network, okay, so the network of people that you know, so the network of people you know becomes your net worth, okay? Your network is your net worth. I want you to remember that, okay? Your network is your net worth. So the people that you hang around with, the people that you can contact for help, blah, 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 it starts to value you. So for instance, if I was to be able to make a call to Jeff Bezos right now to get a little bit of help, that is very valuable. I hope that kind of makes sense. If I can make one call to Jeff Bezos, if that's even possible, that shows that I've got a little bit of worth too. To call a billionaire and get a little bit of help. So I'm probably close to that level or getting there, okay? So your network is your net worth. Remember that. Go out, build networks, talk, talk, talk. Number 9, hire smarter. So this could be hire smart or this could be hire smarter. Depends on which way you want to look at it, okay? You did not get point 7. I might rush back to point 7 just because I saw it come into the. Okay, tell everyone. I'll conclude on that. Okay, so hire smart. All right. Make sure you find people that are willing. Okay, because obviously they have to be willing to do the stuff that you want to do for your business, but they can do it better than you. Make sure you actively are searching for people that are willing to do the stuff that you need to do for your business, but they can do it better than you. And you get them in place as soon as you can. Too many people, again, are going back to this thing of trying to do everything. Get a little team together as soon as you can. Yeah, but Dwayne, how am I going to pay these people? Pay them by the fact of they're involved in something that's going to be great. For example, again, I'm just going to give silly example. Sorry, Dennis, and I'm running a little bit over. For example, you might find someone that's good at social media. And you might say, actually, can you just do my social media for me for 1 hour a week? Okay, 1 hour a week. Even, you know what I mean? Even if they could help you for 1 hour a week, it's probably better than you doing it yourself because you can spend that 1 hour prototyping your product, getting a little bit further than that. Does that make sense? So try and get a little bit of team together, even if it's just people volunteering to take some of the effort off your hands. Try not to do everything. Again, I sound like I'm being a little bit repetitive, but no man or no person's an island, okay? And my last one, sorry, again, Dennis, I do apologize for the time. My last one, and this is important, okay? This is very, very, very important. So a successful business, okay? A successful business. So sorry, I'm going to rewind and then come back. At the beginning, I said, unfortunately for you guys and me, an idea is the smallest part of any business. And I said that actually it's the processes and the systems that you do that are far more important. And this is what I'm talking about here. So a successful business is a set of profitable and repeatable systems. I'm going to say that again. A successful business is a set of profitable and repeatable systems. You need to get the systems around your idea that help you sell it in a profitable way. I hope that makes sense, okay? Your business isn't your idea. Your business is the systems that make your idea be able to be sold profitably, not reputable, repeatable. Sorry, it's probably the way I'm speaking, okay? So profitable and repeatable systems. So you can repeat it, okay? You can repeat it over and over and over again. I hope if I mention McDonald's, people will know what I'm talking about. So if you think about McDonald's, okay, McDonald's is just a repeatable system. No matter where you are in the world, if you fall in a McDonald's, you know where you are. The same thing of an Apple store. If you think about Apple and all their stores, no matter where you are in the world, you kind of know that you're in an Apple store. It's just repeatable systems. You can train people to do the system. You can train people to do the system. If you can't train someone to run your business, then you haven't quite got a repeatable system. Okay, so that's the last bit that I would like to leave you on, but it's extremely important. As soon as you can, get some systems together. I've left a few links here that would help you create systems. So for instance, a newsletter system. Hootsuite helps you to schedule your social media. Eventbrite, if you want to do events. Basecamp is a project management system. Lead Pages is for sort of like one-page websites. And outsourcing is for like, it's a freelance agency that I've left there, okay? So I just want to leave you with this, guys. Thank you for everyone that was interacting. So I'll follow in the chat or what have you. And sorry I overspoke, okay? But we started with this at the beginning, okay? Excuses. Excuses is the thing that's probably standing between you and success. So I just want to leave you on this. You in this chat are all awesome. So you need to get over any doubt that you've got that you could be successful and move on and be great. Well done for attending this conference. Well done for signing up to NASE. I want to wish you all the best and good luck with your businesses. Sorry, Dennis, I really do apologize.
No. What an awesome session, Dwayne Reed. I have, maybe if I might follow up on your session, if I could ask everyone to type in one word that would describe Dwayne's session, Dwayne Reed's session. Just one word. Mine would be awesome, awesome. And that's one of the words. I have, of course, engaged with you before, but some of these guys, I can see the words amazing, cool, perfect, informative, loads of brilliant words, Dwayne. Impactful, marvelous, enriching, awesome, incredible, wonderful. Geez, I think you should take screenshots of these.
Guys, thank you for the kind words, guys. But I'm not the star, guys. It's you guys. I really want you guys to be successful. Dennis, I know I've killed it for time. I'm happy to stay on and do a quick Q&A, but obviously I know you might have to move on for your program. It's up to you.
Actually, I was actually going to do that. The last time we tried this, we got over 200 questions, but let me see what questions are there. Does anyone have a quick question for Dwayne Reed? If you could please put it in the Q&A. I'll just go through it very quickly and see what questions are available.
And guys, like, I'm here as a resource to you. Any question that you've got, it might sound awkward, it might sound silly, it might sound like you're being too intrusive or whatever. You know, my job is to help you. I don't care what the question is, guys. I will answer it as long as it's aimed at helping you on your journey. Okay, so please don't think there's a silly question.
Fantastic.
So I just pulled one up. So Mark William, there was a question about are there some rules of thumb when building systems? So the best way for me to put it is, and again, it sounds like a bit of a cheap answer, but it's got to be as simple as possible. Okay, so it's got to be as simple as possible. Too many people, they think that, okay, well, I want to make my systems complicated so no one can copy it. In a way that's okay, in a way that sounds like it makes sense, but if no one can copy it, that means you can't train your staff on it. So that means you can't grow your business without you. So that means your business is just you. And that's what you never want. Okay. So Mark William, I don't know how to pronounce your first name, so I'm completely going to apologize. Okay. But the thing I would say is map things out on a piece of paper. So if you sort of like do a flow chart, okay. So when I'm just going to give an example, when a customer comes to my website, what's supposed to happen? Can I make a system of that? Okay, can I turn that into a bit of a system? So rather than everybody email me, Maybe I can have a chat function on my website and a staff member's managing that. Stuff like that, okay? So just make it as simple as you can. I might need help with some questions. There's quite a lot coming in now. So I don't know if anyone. What did you miss? Okay, great. I'm just picking, guys. I'm just picking out the ones that I can see. So I apologize if I missed your question. So Ronnie has said, was there a time you messed up and felt like you'd failed, and how do you bounce back? And Ronnie, I'm just going to give you an honest answer, Ronnie. Okay, I would say I mess up at least every other day. Okay, well, that's just me being honest with you. Okay, I mess up at least every other day. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, okay, so Sunday, what I should have really been doing is I should have been doing a lot on my childcare business, if that makes sense. But the sun came out and I was just like, you know what, actually, I'm going to spend some time resting in the sun. So at that point, you could say I've not taken the actions that I needed to take for my business, if that kind of makes sense. But rest is important too. You do need to rest. Your mental health is extremely important. So Ronnie, there's been loads of times that I've failed. So I'll give you a better example. Hiring staff. Okay. So at the beginning, when I was hiring staff, I was just excited to be able to hire. So I was thinking, oh my God, I can pay people. I almost hired everyone that came for an interview, to be honest with you. But then what I realized is I wasn't asking them the important question. I wasn't finding out about their values. If you want anybody to work for your business, it's important that their values match your business. So I've spoken about get help, okay, get lots of people involved, but make sure the values are the same. And I didn't even ask them about their values because I was just excited. I was like, okay, I can hire you, I've got money. So Ronnie, very quickly, how do I bounce back? The way you bounce back from failure is this. Right now, okay, so Ronnie, I'm talking to Ronnie, but I'm talking to everybody. Okay, Ronnie, there's a reason why you want to be successful in business or successful in general. Okay, there's a why. You've got a why. My why, Ronnie, is that I don't want my son to have to do the struggles that I had to do, if that makes any sense. I want my son to have better opportunities. That's my why, Ronnie. Ronnie and everybody else, you've got your own personal whys. I don't want anyone to share it, but everyone's got their own personal whys. How do you bounce back? You remember your why. Why did you start this in the first place? Okay, and then you get back on the cycle. Sorry, Ronnie, that's a bit of a long answer to your question, but I hope it answered it.
Dwayne, there's an interesting one here from Nyingaling. He's saying, this is to both Dwayne and Dennis. How much coffee do you take in a week? He would love to know. One of the things I think where Fred is coming from is this world of entrepreneurship. It's a 24/7 non-stop. And I know that when we've done some hackathons, we've bought even some Red Bulls for some of these guys to just stay awake, quite literally. But there's also something called burnout. So how do you balance those two? I mean, you've just given an example of yesterday when you decided to take a break in the sun. Maybe what the Ugandans don't appreciate is that we always have the sun 24/7, but in the UK, when the sun comes out, everyone comes out. But how do you balance those two? How do you put in all the God-sent hours, but also stay in touch with family, friends, and your mental health? How do you balance the two, Dwayne?
Good question. Good question. So again, guys, sorry, but I can only be honest, right? So at the moment, I'm on the wrong side of personal work-life balance. Okay, so I'm on the wrong side of balance. And yesterday's example was perfect. Okay, I was quite happy to write off my whole day, for enjoyment. Okay, so if I'm being honest with you guys, over the last few weeks, I've been on the wrong side of that. Okay, so I've just been too much enjoyment. Okay, but to answer Dennis's question a bit more specifically, know yourself. Okay, know yourself, all right, and understand yourself. Dennis put it very well at the end. He was like, mental health is extremely important. So you can kind of get the sense where you're feeling a bit stressed. So if you're stressed about your business, okay, and it really feels like it's affecting your mindset, you need to stop. Not stop completely, but stop to take a break. Because when you take breaks, in a way, your creative juices are still working. So you're probably solving problems subconsciously. And then when you come back to it, you'll get that solution much easier, okay? So my thing is take breaks, okay? When I was working more effectively, so let me go back to when I'll do properly. When I was working more effectively, and guys, I'm not advocating this, I'm just saying, know yourself. When I was working more effectively, I realized what I could do is I could work on about 3 or 4 hours sleep. Okay, so I have 3 or 4 hours sleep for 3 days in a row. Okay, remember, know yourself. I could have 3 hours sleep a night, okay, for 3 days in a row. On the 4th day, I would burn out, as Dennis would say. Okay, so I just need to relax. So on the 4th day, I would just need to relax and not do much. But that's because I started to understand myself. So do what works for you. Answer these questions. Are you an early person? Do you prefer to work in the morning or do you prefer to work in the evening? Whichever one it is, do that. Okay, work when you're more effective. So understand yourself, and that will help you kind of with the burnout scenario. So sorry, I hope that answered the question. There was a good question that I saw come up. So Barbara asked, okay, if all these things are in place. So I assume she means if you've got the stuff that we're talking about, you know, the theoretical stuff and the motivation, how do you get opportunities of doing business? Okay, like closing deals and stuff like that. So Barbara, this is about building your network, but slightly differently. Okay, this is about the confidence of reaching out to your potential customer. You should have a target, Barbara, or anybody. When I'm talking to Barbara, I'm to everybody as well. You should have a target of the people that you want to, the potential customers, not people. You should have a target of the potential customers that you want to reach out to every single day. So say, for example, that target is 20. Every single day, you contact 20 potential customers and see what happens. Okay, see what happens. You should be recording this somewhere. We call this a CRM, so a customer relationship management system. You should be recording this somewhere and tracking what progress you have. So if you contact 20 and you get no responses, that means you need to change the way you're approaching. Okay? If you contact 20 and you get 1 or 2 responses, in a way that shows that every 20 people that you contact, you can probably anticipate that you're going to get 1 or 2 responses. And then you need to work out of those 1 or 2 responses, how many sales do you get? So Barbara, that's a little bit of a long answer to your question, but you need to create a process where you're tracking how many potential customers am I reaching out to and how successful this is. And that might mean that you need to change your script a little bit. It might mean that the value proposition is not right. So that's quite important as well. If people are not giving you the answers that you are expecting, ask them why. Okay, so I invited you to the NASE conference, okay? And this NASE conference seems like something that you should definitely be coming to. But we realized you signed up to our mailing list and didn't come. So we'd like to know, why didn't you come? And then you will find out what was blocking people from coming to your event, buying your product. And then it kind of lets you know what you need to fix, okay? So sorry, Dennis, I just nicked that question. Dennis, when you need us to stop, let me know, otherwise I'll just continue.
What I was going to suggest, Dwayne, is that we bring in my next colleague on intellectual property. I know that you've offered to stay behind and you'll be looking at some of these questions in the Q&A session. And
I can answer them, can't I? Yeah, I can type answer. That's a good point. Yeah. I got it. I'm on it.
And then we can also do some of the chat. If Mugi is sooner rather than later, then we can use the last 10, 15, 20 minutes and wrap up some of the questions that you think maybe they're better to explain verbally.
Perfect, guys. Sorry, I didn't realize I could do that. So I'm going to type the answer to some of your questions in the chat, guys. I'm going to go back and I'll be typing the responses. So can I just say one more time? Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being interactive, and good luck with all of your businesses.
Right. Thank you, Dwayne. As I said earlier, I think all the best words were used to explain what your session has done to the Youth Ideathon. So on this occasion, I'd like to bring on Patrick Mugisha. Are you available? Bear with me 1 second. Patrick, can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh, yes, there you are, Patrick.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning to you. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Good to see you.
Excellent.
Apologies, we're running slightly late, but as you can see, Dwayne is, I think, a cousin of yours in one way, shape, or form. Once he starts talking, the passion gets the better of him. But fantastic session this morning. We want to hand over the reins to you. One of the things Dwayne was talking about was aspects of intellectual property. And you recall that even in the master and the thematic sessions, that issue has popped up quite a lot. We thought that maybe since we're dealing with ideas, that we ought to have a session around intellectual property, because intellectual property is a key part of this whole idea for project. We want to make sure that people's ideas are secure as much as we possibly can. But we also know that not all ideas are patentable. We always say that every parent thinks that their child is the best child until they send them to, let's say, Oxford or Cambridge, and then you realize actually there are other smart kids out there. Your child is not only the smartest.
Absolutely.
And most ideas are not even patentable. Sometimes you think you have a novel idea, and then you discover that someone has done it before. So I'd like to hand over to you. Hopefully you can use the next 30 minutes to share with us about intellectual property, your thoughts, your experiences, and the message for the participants. Over to you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. And thank you, my Dennis said that maybe you could be my brother Dwayne. Good morning and welcome to Uganda virtually. Pleasure to meet you. 30 minutes is what is allocated to me. So basically, I want to divide this accordingly. The first 5 minutes, I just want to request all the participants to try and Google, type on the Google search, just the key words of the ideas. 2 minutes, just do that. Try and Google search your idea. I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. Type it, and just as soon as you type it and you search, you can type in the chat how many hits you got. The hits are usually down here on the towards the end, so you can find that maybe they're like 2 million, 1 million. Try to type that and we'll see. I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. Google search your idea. Ideally, that's what I mean. Kindly, 2 minutes. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining. Thank you, Angel. 75 million results. Thank you. Okuri Dennis, 20 billion. Julius Tusingwire, 1.3 million. Asimo Benjamin, 43 million plus. Thank you. Keep on typing. You still have 1 minute. You still have 1 minute. 30 seconds to go. 20 seconds to go. 10 seconds to go. 5 seconds to go. Stop. Thank you. Now, the next task is just open Google Patents. Open Google Patents. Just Google search Google Patents. It's a search engine for patents primarily. Just open a search engine known as Google Patents. I'll give you 1 minute to navigate through that. Google Patents. 30 seconds. I think you're done. Now, type in the keywords of your idea on the search provision under Google Patents. Just type in, if you say maybe you're working on a digital scanner, you can type digital scanner, and then you're going to click yes, patents.google.com. Yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. So just click that and then search, begin the search. just begin the search under Google Patents for the keywords of your idea.
Mugi, I was going to suggest you could do a search and share your screen for the benefit of those.
Okay, so okay, that's good. Let me just do that.
But it's interesting looking at the results that people are.
I think Albert can help me to share. Albert, help me to share.
Yes, let me do that.
Okay, thank you. Allow me to get my video off for now. Albert, are we on?
Yes.
Thank you. So I hope everyone is seeing that new screen for google.com. Sorry, let me just go back to Google Patents. Yes.
You need to share now.
Okay, let me. Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
So that is now the new checkup for that for the Google Patents. So let's say, for example, someone is working on let's say a digital scanner, digital balance, digital scale, for example. I'll be able to do that. So on digital scale, I should be able to get that document. But if I want to be able to check others, let's say, for example, that's basically what digital scales, it will give me all this about 135,828 results. So maybe in a nutshell, what am I trying to drive here is when you went and decided to search for your idea or some key components of your idea, it was very clear that your idea could be some people in other parts of the world have thought about it. But that shouldn't discourage you, because certainly you wouldn't want to check what the 20, what maybe the a billion searches or the different ideas that are similar to yours, what they actually, the details, because you may never get that time to do that. Then I decided, why don't you go ahead and try to search the novelty or the newness of what you're thinking about. And that one we decided, let us go into the Google patent search. And you realize, you know how much content you may have got. So that clearly tells you where you lie in terms of the newness or the creativity you've put into your idea. So basically, I'm here to tell you about intellectual property. Albert, I request you again to, I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to request you to help me share another, allow me to share another screen, if you can.
Yes,
Albert, I can, okay, thank you very much. So I'll be able to share that. And so basically, this being an ideathon, as Dennis has brought it out clearly, Dwayne has brought it out clearly, these are ideas that can actually make some economic sense. Ideas that anyone can be able to invest in, ideas that UNDP is looking to support, ideas that NASE and its partners are going to support many years to come. But the question is, every idea begins in the mind or in the head. And therefore, if these ideas cannot be translated into tangible outputs, if the idea cannot result into a tangible business or enterprise, then there's a problem with this idea. how does intellectual property come into the ideation process? As we said, intellectual property, just by mere definition, is just the output resulting from human creativity and ingenuity. The moment you say you've come up with a nail cutter, a new one that actually works effectively, it all begins in the mind. So the next thing is to be able to now test it against the criteria of what kind of IP or intellectual property this particular device or product is supposed to fall under. So that's why you find with the different thematic areas that this ideathon was targeting, certainly we are very keen that many ideas are going to come from different thematic areas. So that one already narrows your scope. If your focus was in agriculture, if your focus was in STEM, if your focus was in a tourism, if your focus was in maybe a manufacturing, there's somewhere you can actually come into place. So what does intellectual property protect? Intellectual property will only protect expression of these ideas. When these ideas have been reduced to practice, IP systems are normally established to protect you, the entrepreneur, another person, the researcher, an academician in the university, a writer, a musician, and an artist, a photographer. How does it work? IP system is composed or stands on three major blocks. The first block is the creator or the ideator, you and me. The next one is the state or the government. The state is one that confers upon you these exclusive rights. When you say that I've gone and registered, let's say maybe a logo, a trademark, now I'm able to secure that monopoly or the exclusive rights. No one else can use it without my permission. And the other one is the society or the public. Remember, ideas catalyze knowledge creation, but knowledge transverses boundaries. The knowledge that you have today can be used elsewhere. Knowledge does not have boundaries. That's why you can actually be able to go and study at Harvard without leaving your comfort zone in Kanungu. Because of internet, because of YouTube, because of availability of online courses. So what are the different types of IP? You're going to look at, depending on what you've actually thought of, it will always classify your idea to where it's supposed to be. On a larger scale, we've got what we refer to as industrial property. Industrial property, of course, coming from the fact that whatever ideas you're coming up with have got industrial applicability and they're relevant, especially within the manufacturing space or the likes. So under that, we've got the likes of patents. We've got the likes of utility models. We've got the likes of industrial designs. We've got the likes of our trademarks and trade secrets. And we've got the likes of copyright and neighboring rights, another branch of intellectual property. Now, we are going to go into just a couple of minutes to look at the different aspects. Considering the time that I have, certainly we're not going to be able to touch or tackle almost everything here. But the whole point is that we are coming on board here as Innovent Labs Africa to support the UNDP NASE Ideathon. And my partner is on board, who's actually going to be sharing the links of our website, Twitter handles, where you're going to be able to reach out and to follow up. And basically, the good news is that each one of you who's on this platform right now is actually open to have the pro bono services of your innovation and IP value chain management from Innovent Labs Africa. So basically, after this, we are not ending here. Your questions need to clarify some issues to support you in the development agenda of your product. How do you incorporate standards in the innovation process? How do you integrate IP into this process? We are ready to walk that journey with you. We want to give you something that no one else can actually be able to offer. So that's our niche. We are not only talking, but want to walk the talk with you. Thank you. So basically, let's look at this aspect. Let's go to that bit. So these are some of the rights to consider. If you have an invention certainly means it's a new creation that has never existed before. This could be by an entrepreneur, an enterprise, it could be by a university, it could be by a researcher. And under that, we've got 3 key areas that you may need to consider if you think you've got an invention, especially guys who are within the space of manufacturing, even agriculture. Anytime you think your output, your idea is going to lead to a tangible product or a good, consider this aspect here. It could be encompassing some form of technology. It could be encompassing some form of a creation. For example, a new chair. You could be looking at a new digital, maybe a scale or something like that. A new design for a phone, an invention. You'll consider patents. So under patents, you are looking at, this has to be something new or inventive. It must be used in industry. You can manufacture it. I'm sure you've heard of the likes of Covidex. Now they were given an space in Sorot Industrial Park to manufacture industrially applicable. And also it should satisfy the local definition of an invention that is in the legal frameworks, the laws. So under that, you've got the patents, you've got also the utility models. What does it allow you to do? It allows you to be able to control any third party from using your work without your permission. So you'll choose who can make, sell, or use it. And you can decide which country do you want to make this possible. So when you file for a patent, if your product qualifies for a patent, you have the exclusivity for 20 years, meaning in the 20 years from the time you submit your application for filing, no one can take advantage of you in that space of time. For utility models, they are also the same as patents, but you refer them as lesser patents or petty patents. And the beauty with utility models, as compared to patents, is that they are cheaper. And for them, they normally consider the newness of the solution and the industrial applicability. Inventiveness is not so much applicable when it comes to utility models. So that's what patents are all about. And not everything is patentable. Our laws in Uganda today, through the Industrial Property Act of 2014, that's the legal framework that governs patents, utility models, industrial designs, and the likes. They specify what can be protected and what cannot be protected under the patent laws. I'll give you an example. Softwares and computer programs in Ugandan patent laws cannot be patented, but can be protected under copyright. Methods of doing diagnostics, especially for humans and animals, are not patentable. If you wanted to protect the way you take a thermometer and you put under your armpit, that process, it's unethical. You will protect the thermometer because it's a device. You'll be able to protect some of the components of that thermometer, and you'll be able to secure that. Now, as I said, we can't talk more, but clearly you can see that is what we have on that space. So let us look at the next thing to do with utility models, just to, of course, that has also been captured there. So then we look at trade secrets. Each one of you here has got secrets. If I asked you, each one of you, to share his or her secret on the chat, you'll be blown away. But because they are secrets, you don't need to share them. Now, your ideas. Remember, one of the exceptional things that this ideathon has really brought to light is the need to protect people's intellectual capital. And that's why all the judges and the assurance has been given to the participants that your ideas are safe, no one is going to take advantage of them, and people have ended up signing even non-disclosure agreements. And these are things that majority of players in this space do not do. So I think everyone should clap for UNDP, NASE, and their partners. That's something quite remarkable, and we really appreciate that. So what qualifies for a trade secret? Information that has commercial value because of its secrecy. That secret you're keeping, does it have commercial value? Information that is not generally known within the relevant technical or business field. If you're in the food industry, that recipe, is it known by other people? You know of Uhuru Pilau, the pilau that Uhuru makes. This guy mixes these things when everyone is asleep. Because no one should see it, he's managing his trade secrets. And these are secrets that understand they were passed over even from his father to him. So other people who make pilau should not know Uhuru's secrets. Number 3, where the holder of the information takes reasonable steps to keep the information secret. If I employ you and I ask you on your employment contract that you are joining a company whose value is attached to trade secrets, this is what you're supposed to do as a company policy when it comes to managing of trade secrets. That is very important. A good example again is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's formulation is primarily protected by a trade secret. Remember, trade secrets remain secrets in perpetuity as long as they are kept secrets. So your idea, does it qualify to be a trade secret? Do you have something that you feel, I don't need to go and disclose this by registering? By the trade secrets are not registered. So you'll not go to Uganda Registration Services Bureau that you want to register a secret. No, you don't disclose. You do not. For more, we'll catch up on that. Let's go to, if your work involves creative works, and I saw this was part of the things that were also presented under some of the thematic areas. So copyrights are very critical. So what does copyright protect? Copyright protects the expression of ideas. Copyright does not protect ideas. It's the expression of the idea. Now this could be in form of literary works. You can see here what this protects. You can see books, lectures, speeches, plays, musicals, this, all this. The likes of Chameleon are here. I've seen guys on the in the chat who are saying that first we will make robots or these playwrights and everything. You'll fall under here. Guys who are designing logos for your businesses, they all fall under this framework. Those who write lyrics for music, scripts for films, they all follow under this space. So what is the duration of copyright? If you say you've written a book, let's say The Mustard Seed or Chintu and Nambi, that story, if it has been put in a literary form, usually copyright, you own it through your entire life and 50 years after your death. So if you write a book today and call it Uganda and its benefits, you've written it today and you secure copyright, you own it, you'll begin making money through your life. And after your death, you count 50 years. Now this varies from country to country. And that's why those who did literature, you read the stories of these guys in the famous guys, William Shakespeare. So you find out, this is part of your assignment. Is the book by Romeo and Juliet, is it still under copyright? So you can find out and you tell me on the chat at your own time. So this also demonstrates what you gain from copyright. It's both economic rights and moral rights. So copyright, you're able to distribute your work, you're able to make public performance, you're able to sell or allow someone to actually adapt the piece of work into a movie or a poem or a play, and you're able to get more money. So let's look at another bit when it comes to design rights, industrial designs. So basically, if you look at your phone right now, if you look at the shirt you're putting on or the dress you're putting on, look at the pants you're putting on, look at the pair of shoes you're wearing right now, and look at maybe the laptop or the computer you're using, you realize something must have attracted you that has got nothing to do with functionality for all those articles I've mentioned. Now, industrial designs are able to spread you out to the marketplace in terms of attractiveness or appearance. So industrial designs will always protect the ornamental or aesthetic aspects of an article. And this can be either 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions. So guys who are into the fashion industry, there's a lot of industrial designs to get on that board. So basically, what does design rights give you? Commercial value, definitely. You'll make income by licensing. You'll have a stronger market position, and you protect against third parties who want to use your work without your permission. Now, I think just to go briefly onto how do you protect these things in Ugandan laws? We've got a national IP office, which is hosted by Uganda Registration Services Bureau. Usually the intellectual property has 4 distinct phases: the generation of the IP, protection of the IP, commercialization of the IP, and enforcing the IP. So you cannot protect what you've not generated. You cannot enforce what you do not own. You cannot commercialize what you do not own. I hope that is very clear. So this ideathon is giving you a couple of, is going to present to you a couple of aspects, how they're going to walk this journey with you through ILA, Innovent Labs Africa. We should be able to help you out. Once you look and craft through your idea, is there any potential? Mark the word potential. I did say there's an IP. Is there a potential IP? Now it goes back to you as an individual, the creator or the generator of this. Do we pursue it further? Or do you want to say, no, I'm not going to pursue this, but I would rather hold this know-how as a trade secret? Then we can also support you to walk this journey to the very end. And protecting it, of course, comes at a cost. On average, for a patent in Uganda, you are looking at, for the 20 years, of course, you're going to be looking at something close to nearly 7 to 8 million. Why? Because it begins in each year you have to service this. You first apply, it's granted, then every year you pay what you call the maintenance fee. Then you go to aspects of trademarks. Now trademarks, these are symbols. These are logos. This could be a combination of words. It could be a sound. Consider the MTN sound. Consider the Nokia sound when you switch the phone on. MTN, everywhere you go, that tagline is a trademark for MTN. Airtel, the smartphone network, is a tagline for Airtel, which is still a trademark. So majority of these ideas, if they're going to make it to the market, you would need a logo that is going to differentiate you who's dealing with rice from other players who are dealing the same product in the marketplace. How do you brand? How do you position your logo to reflect and to be traced to you? We shall be able to walk this journey with you to help you, even to design that logo. Not every logo, by the way, can qualify to be a trademark. There are rules and regulations. How long do you get to protect a trademark? The first time you get protection for a mark, you're looking at 7 years, then after 10 years, every 10 years in perpetuity. So under URSB, you'll be able to seek to present your application, which will be able to give you the technical support in that space. And to be able to, they receive the application, and what they do, they examine the validity or the trueness of these particular forms of IP based on the law. They can decide to grant it or they don't grant you. The next thing is commercialization. When you decide to commercialize your IP, it's because IP, we refer to them as intangible assets. The way you can own a piece of land, the way you can own that phone or a car as a property, a form of property, and you attach a value to it, is the same way you can value a patent. And in other countries, intellectual property can be used as collateral. You can go to a financial institution and you tell them, I've got a patent, it was granted, and I'm looking for money. I want to present this, this title of patent in exchange for 10 million Uganda shillings as security. Majority of you might reach a point where, like, you may not be naturally an entrepreneur, but naturally you are an ideator. So what we want to present in this forum this morning is that if all of you here, I can assure you, all of you are not meant to be entrepreneurs. I think here I might disagree with that Dwayne and also my brother Dennis. Some of you, your sole purpose or your strength lies in ideation. Now, ideation in itself can be a business on its own. Commercialization of IP takes a unique setting. When an enterprise or a firm has got a strong innovation and R&D or research and development capabilities internally, they know that they're only ideating and researching in products that are within their product line of interest. So majority of you are ideators, but as an ideator, when you're able to secure and protect your patent or your trademark or your industrial design or utility mode or the different forms of IP, the next thing is for you to go to the market and look at who is this player in the private sector who is actually able to take on this product. And you decide to negotiate a form of licensing agreement where you give partial ownership in exchange for some money in form of royalties, or you can decide to buy it or sell it off through what we refer to as an assignment. We shall talk more as you engage Innovent Labs Africa in this particular space. We just want you to understand this such that don't get worried in this ideathon that, oh, how do I translate this idea to the market? That might not be your calling. That might not be your space. But once you've secured your IP, the next thing is to sit back and say, let me look for a potential buyer for this particular IP or someone who can enter a licensing agreement with. So basically, those are some things. The next thing is enforcement. You, the IP holder, you enforce your own rights. That's why when you sleep, each one of you has got a house, I'm sure, sleeps in a home. There's a difference between a home and a house. That's why when they say that some people grew up in a house, others grew up in a home. Those are two different things. A house is the physical stuff. The house that you can sit has got walls, that's a house, the structure itself. And sometimes you put on a gate or you put a padlock onto your gate when you're leaving. Why do you put a padlock? You're preventing intruders. You're trying to enforce that no one should actually enter that space without your permission. Colleagues, IP is broad, the subject matter is big. This takes a unique set of skills that can actually be able to help you in terms of service delivery, for you to be able to appreciate it and see how does it strategically work in your idea? How does it work in your enterprise or new business? How do you position yourself? When you decide joint ventures and venture capitalists come and say, hey, we've got a lot of money, want to invest in you. How do you position yourself? How do you manage the ideas that keep flowing out of your mind? Colleagues, my brothers and sisters, I may not be able to speak all this now, but you've got a brief shot of what it's all about. And maybe in the subsequent phases, as we engage in this entire week, keep your questions coming. We shall be able to respond to them. My colleague has shared the links. We should be able to engage you even after this. But this pro bono service that we want to give each one of you is for you to appreciate that, okay, at the end of this, can I really make it count? Yes, you can, because you've got a chance. My parting shot, Dennis, 1 minute. The thing is this, in all this, I want you to think of one thing. You don't succeed because you want to succeed, or maybe you've got the best business model. There are people with the best business models, but have not made it in life. Sometimes give God a chance in your dealings. That calls for divine intervention, for you to do the right thing. Remember, good ideas come from God. There is no good idea that comes from the devil. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mugi. I did mention at the beginning that you must be Dwayne's cousin. Once both of you guys start talking about the topics that you're very passionate about, you won't finish. And I know that this is not enough time, possibly not enough time, for you to have gone through all the things that you need to go through in terms of intellectual property. But we're glad to have you guys on board with regards to hand-holding some of these participants and ideas going forward. So thank you very much. Now, I would like you, Mugi, to stay online. I also like, I don't know whether it's available, Dixon Mushebe, our partners again from Hostelite, with whom we have designed this digital platform. So if and also maybe one or two of my other colleagues, especially those from the UNDP, if you could stay on the line, and we'll go through some of these questions very quickly. I'd like to use the next maybe 30 minutes and go through them all. But again, too many questions. We've already answered 81 of them, and there's already 93 questions still showing up. Can I just check, Dwayne, are you still there?
I am.
Awesome. Dwayne, what questions have you been seeing? Which ones have you answered? Which ones do you think that you want to speak to before we dash off? What are the most interesting questions you've been seeing?
Oh, bloody! I answered about 50. That's quite a tough one. I'll generalize very quickly. So, you know, I was surprised to hear, and it's good to be open about it, but I was surprised to hear quite a lot of people were saying, you know, what do you do if you're not that confident? But the fact that they've got up today and they're now part of this conference and stuff like that, it shows that actually they're even more confident than they think they are, kind of thing. So again, it's just something blocking their you know, their progress per se, you know. So it's good to be open and try to, you know, say it out loud. But realistically, for the fact that you're taking part in NASE, you're showing that you are actually confident. So just keep that confidence and keep on going. So there was a group of those, okay. There was also sort of like a group around this whole validation piece. So, you know, we spoke a lot about using the business model canvas, and your colleague that just spoke said the same thing. You know, your business model canvas might be perfect, but that doesn't mean that you're going to have a good business. So I guess I just want to remind people that the best thing you can do for yourself is validate your idea with your potential customer. So you need to get to speaking to whoever you think is going to buy this product or buy this service, and get feedback from them as soon as possible. So another person said, for instance, and thank you for this question. I think, to be honest, I think this was the best question. Somebody said, should they release a beta version of their product, even though it's got a lot of bugs? And I said, yes, release that, okay? You don't promote it. There's a bit of a difference. You won't promote it heavily or at all, but you will release it, and you will make sure that the people that you invite can get to test it and to break it and to give you suggestions. So it goes back around to the whole thing of like, getting to your customer and getting feedback from your customer as soon as possible. Don't just stay writing business plans and business model canvases and attend, although these events are great, okay, you need to attend these types of events and go out and do some work. And just very lastly, Dennis, sorry, because you asked me now. So the last one was, someone spoke about the fact that they've got a social enterprise. So they were basically saying, which is quite true, you know, they were saying that we're spending a lot of time talking about profitable or commercial business, but not really a lot of time talking about social enterprise. So the one thing that I will say is this: I personally, I don't see no difference in the way that somebody that owns a social enterprise should be operating versus someone that owns a commercial business. The only difference is what you're doing with your money. Okay, and I'll say that again, like I don't see any difference really from the way an entrepreneur that owns a commercial business operates versus an entrepreneur that owns a social enterprise. The only difference is what you do with your money, and they're as important as each other. You know, because if we use NASE as an example as a social enterprise, because of NASE, and I'm only talking about one project, they've engaged with 4,000 would-be entrepreneurs. You can't give a profitable value to that. If that was a profitable business, we'd be probably talking about in billions. Do you get what I mean? But the social capital of that is massive, okay? But Dennis still has to work like a, you know, the same rules. He has to market his idea. He has to talk to you guys that are taking part in this conference. So I keep on calling it a conference, the project or whatever, and make sure that he's giving you the value that you need. All right, so it's still the same rules, okay? But what I did like is, again, sorry, I'm rubbish with names, but the gentleman that spoke on IP, he said that what we might have to admit is you're not gonna all be entrepreneurs, but you're definitely ideators, okay? So you're definitely good at coming up with ideas, and that's true. It goes back to what I said, okay? Only a level of people make it success in entrepreneurship. Anyway, Dennis, again, that's it, unless there's...
Quick question: what prototype does a service provider need to have?
Good question, but it kind of depends on the product. Oh, sorry, it depends on the service kind of thing. So, you know, I would let's just again, sorry, keep on going back to you, Dennis. if we think about NASE, okay, so when I first joined NASE all those years ago, we were just doing one event. Okay, so in a way, that was a prototype. Okay, that was a prototype of what could become. So you got to think about your service as what's the minimum thing you can do to prove that you can deliver whatever it is you're trying to deliver. Okay, so it might just be an hour's worth of workshop. It might be a 30-minute chat with someone. So I can't go into detail because I don't know the actual service, but you know, that's the kind of thing. Yeah,
Good.
so it's supposed to be a demo. So someone typed it into the chat. So exactly, it's supposed to be a demo of whatever you can provide or whatever your full service is.
Yes, that's very well. Otim James is asking, I would like Mr. Guma to explain the last two components of business model canvas. There will be a whole session on this. I think it's on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So you will get a deep dive into this one. The next question is, how does IP apply to business name and logo? If so, how does it work? Maybe this one is for Mugi. Mugi, do you want to respond to Otim James? Does IP apply to business names and logo?
Yes, basically, you need to differentiate the two things. A business name might not mean a trademark. So a trademark is, this is specialized. It's a logo, it could be a symbol, and it could be a word that differentiates your goods and services of your enterprise from other similar enterprises in the marketplace. I'll give you an example. Let us look at the beverage industry. You look at a Pepsi Cola. Pepsi is a trademark. It's a word mark, but it's a trademark. Coca-Cola is a word and it's a trademark. So those two are very, must be very clear. Must be very clear on that. Then also you may decide to, the name, if your business name, for example, you say Otim and Family or Otim and Sons Enterprises. Otim and Sons Enterprises, you can register it as a business name, as a company limited by shares, but it cannot qualify to be a trademark. But if Otim, you are dealing in, for example, shea nut butter, and you design a logo for the shea nut that uniquely presents the product you produce, that qualifies for a trademark. And it can be in form of a logo or a symbol. It can be in form of a sound. It can be in form of a tagline. Yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I could ask colleagues so that I can go through them. One of them is from Jawiyambe Stephen. He's saying, what's an ideal period for a business to become self-sustaining? How long is a piece of string? Your guess is as good as mine. I guess it depends. We can't possibly put, it depends. There's so many factors to consider. But we hope that you will, that yours will be sustainable in the not so distant future, as soon as possible. Kindly enlighten us on the deadline for submitting the business model canvas attachment. That's on Thursday, but colleagues have asked that we extend it to Friday. But really what you want to aim for is Thursday. Thursday will be delivered in the last session. And after that, all ideas must have been submitted because the judging will start at midnight on Friday. Kabibi, during registration, I only registered as an individual and I would like to include my teammate. How can I be able to do this? Very good question. I'll ask, I don't know whether Dixon is available or John or IT team. If I could ask Ivy or Brenda to make note of this question so you can get back to this individual, Chibibi Hillary. And there's quite a number of individuals who are in this kind of situation where I mentioned before that one person may have registered the idea, but there's a team of people working on the idea. Simon Begumisa, it was about the prototype. Dwayne has explained that one. We didn't understand the prototype. Again, Dwayne has explained. It's really the minimum viable thing. I remember Dwayne, the guys who did Dropbox, their prototype apparently was just on a toilet paper or something like that, tissue. They just went to pitch on a tissue explaining with boxes, you know, there's a file here, And the other guy is on the other side. He needs to see the same file, that kind of stuff. So the prototype does not necessarily have to be complicated or sophisticated. It doesn't have to be the final thing. It's just for you to prove that this thing could actually work. Mugi, you have your hand up. Mugi?
Yeah, I think maybe to add on to that, especially in the tech space or even in this other, even in the service industry, just that bit of a prototype, ideal is just for you to be able to reduce your thoughts into practice. Essentially, so it doesn't matter in what form you're going to be able to present this, because if I was going to decide to so that I'm going to make a phone, I'm designing a phone, you can pick even a piece of boxes or cardboards and just make like an illustration of this form, put all the features that you're going to. So it has got nothing to do with the final product, but it should hint at it should talk about some of the features that the final product, like anticipatory mode. It's not the final thing, because like now at that particular point, when you've already reached the prototyping stage, ordinarily even at that particular point, you are good enough to chase after potential IP. Because at that point, as you move along, other issues can be upgraded as you move. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Two questions that I want to answer. One of them is Marcel Winnie, who is saying that if you put everything onto your business model canvas, doesn't that give power to whoever's looking at these ideas, and therefore you've given your idea away? Just to let you know, we have designed a digital platform where all these ideas should be put, and that digital platform is kind of secure, that only you can actually see your idea. The other person who will see your idea is the judge. And again, we have vetted all these judges. So these judges won't, they will only see the type of questions, that the type of businesses that they've been given. So if each judge is given, let's say, 20 businesses, that's it. You only see those 20 businesses. But I think Dwayne had something to say about this earlier. Dwayne, do you want to respond to this one?
Yeah, so firstly, I'm sure Mr. Mugi, our colleague in IP, will hopefully back me up on this one. Of course, if you think that there's a massive amount of intellectual property in your idea, i.e. it could potentially be patentable, then you might want to talk to the NASE officials around that concept, okay? But again, I think that's going to be like 0.05% of the ideas that come into this competition. And again, that's not me trying to insult anybody, that's just the world of IP. But the most important thing is, guys, if you're working with someone that is a mentor or a coach and a well-respected one, like NASE, okay, so like NASE as an example, and I'm going to try and say this from the bottom of my heart, because we get this at Kingston as well, but it's almost an insult to say to that organization, well, ain't someone going to steal my idea if I enter it into this competition? Organizations like NASE wouldn't be so successful if they were taking people's ideas, okay? That's not what we're about. We're about supporting your idea, not taking it, okay? So that's firstly, okay? So let me just put that one to the, but secondly, okay, outside of NASE, outside of any organization that's trying to support your idea, the thing about people that you fear might copy your idea, if you fear that they're gonna copy your idea, they're probably busy trying to copy everybody's idea, okay? So that means they're never really gonna start anything because they're busy trying to copy other people's idea. So the only thing I could say is people can copy ideas, but they shouldn't be able to copy your passion. So who's more passionate about your idea? Someone that you told yesterday, or someone that's been working on it yourself for years or months, okay? You should not be able to let someone out-passion you if you've been working on this idea for months and you just told them this morning, okay? So hopefully that kind of reassures you a little bit, okay? There's no entrepreneur that stole somebody else's idea and then was ultra successful. It's not how it works, okay? Sorry, Dennis.
No, I totally agree. An idea, I always say that ideas are worthless. It's action, much more than anything else that matters. So if someone steals your idea and you're more passionate and you carry on and implement, so I wouldn't worry too much about people stealing your idea. But that said, we have systems in place to make sure that we do as much as possible to protect your idea. At some point, if you win 100 million shillings, the world will know about your idea anyway. So hopefully we'll have worked with you to know which ideas are patentable, so you shouldn't worry about that. The other question that I'm seeing a lot of is this idea, this thing about business model canvas, value proposition canvas. What are you guys going to pitch, or what are you expected to pitch? There will be a whole session on this. I think the session is on Thursday or Friday, if I'm not mistaken, but there's a whole session on the business model canvas. There's a whole session on the value proposition canvas. The reason those two are very important is that you can't do a business model canvas unless you've understood the value proposition. And there's a whole canvas for that, which is the value proposition canvas. So you will get more information. If you end up submitting just your business model canvas and not the value proposition canvas, you might have missed some brownie points that another person who submits both of them might actually get those brownie points and go past you. This is back to the point of who wants it the most. But again, as I said, there will be a whole session on how to pitch your idea. I think it's on Thursday or Friday, one of those 2 days. And again, there's a whole session on the business model and the value proposition canvas. Just make sure you sign up for, it's really 4 days where between you and your 100 million shillings. I'm just going through the questions to see which ones I can answer. There's just too many of them. Amazing new role model. I'm sure they're talking about Dwayne. Can I start when I have only 10% of my startup idea? Of course you can. Ideas never come out fully formed. The NASE you see today is not the NASE we started. We're heading in the same direction, but you go to the likes of Amazon, they never started in that way. And there's lots of businesses in Uganda. A good example being Aponye did not start as the Aponye that you know. So you have to start where you are, and ideas actually also evolve. So you can start by just wanting to sell coffee in the neighborhood, and before you know it, you have the equivalent of Starbucks with the replicable across the whole world. That's how we have ended up with the likes of McDonald's and KFCs of this world. Dwayne, you wanted to say something about this?
Sorry, I was just scrolling through the questions as well. So Alexandra said a really good point. So in my slide number 7 or something like that, I said, tell everyone, okay? Tell everyone, tell everyone, tell everyone. And I would re-emphasize that. I would say, yes, I strongly believe that. But Alexandra did say a good point where she was more or less saying, well, if you did have something that was patentable, should you be sharing that information? And no, definitely not. Okay, so if you've got some level of secret sauce or something that's patentable, then that's the bit you wouldn't tell. Okay, but everything else you would tell. So for example, I'll give you an example. KFC, okay? So KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, they claim, no one knows if it's true or not, but they claim to have a secret sauce that makes their chicken taste like what it tastes, okay, that they put into the seasoning or whatever. No one knows if this is true or not. I personally don't think it's true, but they claim to have a secret sauce. They will never reveal that if it is true. But of course, they'll tell people that they plan to sell chicken, chips, whatever, across the world. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So you tell people the concept and how you think it's going to work. But if you've got a secret sauce, then of course, Alexandra, just to back up what you said, you don't tell people what's patentable or your secret sauce. Sorry, Dennis, I just wanted to quickly say that. It's quite a good point.
That's a very good observation. The other questions were about the schedule that we're going to follow. Maybe this is a good opportunity to share this. So these are the key dates that you guys should make note of. Today being the 16th, so that's today. I did deliver the plenary. You were all wowed by Dwayne. We've been listening to Mugi about intellectual property, and this is what we're trying to do now to wrap up the session in the next few minutes. But tomorrow, everyone who's been asking about the value proposition canvas and the business model canvas, which are very key. Tomorrow's session is going to be very key in that, and Wednesday's session is about the business model canvas. So tomorrow and Wednesday are really, really key to help you best articulate your idea. And on Friday, I will be delivering a session, myself and my colleague, Jimmy, will be delivering a session in how to make sure that the pitch deck looks supreme, that the business model canvas that you prepare, it's not so much about even having the content. Sometimes the way the content is prepared or presented might give you an edge between one individual and another. And of course, one of the things we're hoping to do is as soon as you guys are done with submitting your ideas, judging will start, and judging will end on the 25th of August. We'll have another day of adjudication with the UNDP, just to make sure that the ideas that have been selected fit into particular criteria that the UNDP is very particular about. And then we will have, hopefully, the public will have a say on the 31st of August, where we'll be announcing who the finalists are, who the winners are, and other details about the whole incubation program. I would like to bring this to a close. I can see there's loads of questions, and I'm mindful that we're never, ever going to go through all these questions. There's already 126. You colleagues of mine have already answered 114. We have been used to this kind of stuff. And again, it is testament to the hunger that is out there, the passion that is out there by all the participants of the Youth Ideathon. So I would like to, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, maybe one last thing if I could just maybe give one last word to Mugi. I see your hand is up. Then I'll come to Dwayne roughly, and maybe potentially Bana and Hadija to just say one last word on behalf of the UNDP, and then we can wrap it up. So, Mugi.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, and thank you for the opportunity once again. It's been a pleasure for ILA to partner with NASE and UNDP. And I've seen many questions, and I think because of time, honestly, we're not going to be able to respond to each one of them. But kindly check on the chat box. You can be able to send your questions through www.Innovent Labs Africa. We should be able to get out to you and help you out in the various aspects. Right now, we may not respond to each one of you, but at least when you send out this communication, we shall be able to reach to you at the earliest possible time. And please, let's keep positive. I think the rest should be able to work out. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mugi. Looking forward to the next phase, which should be quite a huge amount of work going through all these ideas. Dwayne, do you have anything, your last word, your parting shots to this hungry cohort of entrepreneurs?
So my last thing is, this is not about winning, okay? Like, you guys are all winners by participating and by taking part. A few of you will get a grant and more support from NASE, but I want all of you to continue no matter what the result, okay? The win from this is as many of you as possible go on and start a successful business, okay? So although it's in a competition format and some people will be the winners to next week or whenever the prizes are announced, our win is for everybody to continue and go on, okay? So this is not about like, oh, if you're not successful in NASE, that doesn't mean you're successful. If entrepreneurs listen to people that said your idea is not gonna make it, then we probably wouldn't have any successful entrepreneurs at all, okay? So if you don't get the grant or what have you, I want you to prove Dennis and NASE wrong, okay, and still go on and be successful. I hope that makes sense, okay? So thank you very much for the opportunity, Dennis, and thank you very much, everyone, for listening and engaging.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. And just to reiterate what you've just been saying, that this is really not just about the grants. Grants are a good thing, but not everyone is going to get the grants. But we're already in discussions with the UNDP to make sure that almost everyone continues to get some support in one way, shape, or form. And thank you, Dwayne, for sparing your time this morning. I know the time difference has meant that you wake up very early, but someone did ask how much coffee we take. So you were very sharp. I wonder how much coffee you took this morning. But thank you very much, very much. We'll probably be inviting you again at some point, maybe on the finals, when we do. I'm sure you'd also be interested to know which ideas have actually won. And of course, in the coming year, as we open up and get rid of this COVID pandemic, that you will be able to join us once again in Uganda. The sun is still shining, the food is still good. I know you like to party, you like Kampala very much, so we'll be looking forward to having you around. Thank you. Can I ask Bana or Hadija to say one word or two to the participants, and then I can wrap things up. These are our colleagues from the UNDP. Hadija, Bana.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Well, my name is Hadija, and I work with UNDP as head of solutions mapping. the UNDP Accelerator Lab. And I'm really very glad that have participated in this masterclass. They are indeed a masterclass. So I would like to appreciate NASE, Dennis, for your leadership for organizing this event. It has been really such a very highly attended event, and it has a lot of information that has come out to the youth, but not only to the youth, but also to us as individuals. Personally, I've learned a lot from prototyping to IP, how you nurture your idea, and also giving yourself, having confidence so that you are able to start. Entrepreneurs or most people, they have so many excuses and other issues. So I really want to take this opportunity on behalf of UNDP to appreciate all of you, to appreciate Dwayne for your time, and also to appreciate Mugi for taking us through the IP session, which was really very informative, and it clarified a lot of issues that I had queries on. So mine is just to give a vote of thanks to the organizers, NASE, our partners, and also to the entire team that has put in effort into this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hadija. And I know that your other colleagues are in the background, not least of whom is Peter and Albert, who are the reason we are on this call. They deal with all the technical stuff, making sure that we are live and well. I do apologize today, we're not able to share the subtitles, but I think this is something for us to do tomorrow. You will have noticed that we've been very consistent with taking care of people with disabilities. Dorothy Matega is there on the sign language. I forgot to mention this one in the morning, but she's been there all the while. Secondly, these sessions are being recorded, and this evening, at some point, there will be an email going out with a link to the session so you can watch it on demand and maybe relive the interesting moments we've shared today. But on behalf of NASE and my team, and there's quite a huge team that is happening, if you could see in the office in the background, there's about 10, 15 people responding to your questions and on the calls and emails. On behalf of the entire NASE team and on my own behalf, I'd like to thank you very much, and hopefully we can see you tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. If you joined us today at 9 a.m., you realize we started exactly at 9. And we wanted to finish by 12, and we're going to do that with about 20 minutes to spare. So I would like to thank you all very much for attending. Please do keep working on your ideas, focus on the value proposition canvas, which we're talking about tomorrow, and the business model canvas. And some of the questions that we've not been able to answer today, I will go through them again tomorrow. If not myself, one of my colleagues will. We are also compiling a frequently asked questions, and some of these will make it into the frequently asked questions, which is usually on our website. But even if it's not on the website, colleagues will be responding to these one by one. So thank you very much, and have yourselves a lovely day, everyone. Have a good day.